know anything,
You've got that microphone the wrong way round.
Which is it?
You have to have the B facing you.
Hold on a wee second here. There you go.
Hey.
I was just saying, if you want to know, let me slide this boy on here now. If you want to know anything, just ask Greg Hughes. Do you know, I was saying, is it a day for painting? He says, oh, it's going to be sure.
You get away with painting. You get away with painting today.
That's good.
Is it fence painting or emulsion?
Oh, it's again of a door.
You'll be all right.
Be all right.
Give me overhang on it anyway.
Right.
Come here, go and paint.
I will.
I'll chat to you tomorrow morning.
Good luck to you, bye.
All right, take care of yourself. All right, welcome along to Tuesday's 9 till noon show. It's 9 o'clock and it's time for a news update, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Donegal doctor says a decision to put Sligo University Hospital forward as the preferred location for a surgical hub is health inequality at its most stark. Dr. Porg McGuinness is one of 171 doctors demanding an urgent meeting with the Health Minister to address what they describe as a critical threat to patient care and health equality in the North West. There was much concern after it emerged last month that a case was being put forward to have the surgical hub located at Sligo University Hospital. The group is now seeking a meeting with Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill within the next month, a moratorium on final decisions regarding the surgical hub's location until a fair evidence-based comparison is completed, and for an independent review of the HSC's rationale for selecting Sligo University Hospital over Letterkenny. Dr. McGuinness says he will not stand by and allow people in Donegal to suffer due to health inequality.
The population of Donegal is about 165,000. The population of Sligo, Leitrim, South Donegal and West Cavan together is only 102,000, so the population base doesn't stack up. The second thing that doesn't stack up, of course, is geography. Patients of mine in Fanad or the Innisone Peninsula or the Far West over in Gweedore, they have to travel 2 hours to go to Sligo to have your procedures done. If you had it in Letterkenny, no one in Sligo, Leitrim or Donegal would have more than 90 minutes to travel. It's a no-brainer for us. This is health inequality at its most stark, and we won't allow it to happen.
Psychology waiting lists of over a year for children in Donegal have more than halved. 86 under 18s were waiting over 12 months to be seen by a psychologist in the county in October 2021. Figures from the Irish Independent show that the number dropped 58% to 28 in December of last year. Nationally, the number of children waiting more than a year to see a psychologist has risen to almost 11,000 from 3,900 in 2021. Plans to allow the Land Development Agency to move into private housing delivery should ring alarm bells. That's according to the former chair of the Housing Agency, as plans are to be considered by ministers to give sweeping new powers to the state-sponsored body. It follows warnings from officials of dwindling plots of state land to build on. Sunday Independent columnist Conor Skehan says it's a sign of misdirection and misunderstanding of the root causes of the housing problem.
We currently have a half dozen government agencies dealing with housing and another one being proposed to add now of that. How many more do we need? Every time we add a new one, we change the rules, we change the certainty, and we give more reason for somebody who's got land or finance the excuse to defer their decision to build until a better deal comes along.
Sinn Féin councillor Rory McHugh has been elected as the new mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council. He takes over the role from councillor Lillian Sinoy Barr. Meanwhile, the DUP's alderman Neary McMorris has been announced as deputy mayor. Councillor McHugh says he feels very proud and humbled to be given the opportunity to take up the mayoral position. And for weather now, today will be breezy with scattered showers and some sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Us Irish like to think we know when something sounds too good to be true. Like getting a quick and easy car insurance quote.
Ah, come off it.
Plus great value cover.
You're joking.
From a trusted provider.
Pull the other leg.
And most of the time, we're right. But not this time. See for yourself at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Best price online.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning. You're very welcome along to a brand new week of the 9 till Noon Show. Yes, indeed. It's Tuesday, but we were off yesterday with it being a public holiday. Hope you had a good long weekend. If you were working, hopefully it didn't go too hard on you, and if not, you're all refreshed and ready to go for another working week. We're going to keep you company here on the 9 till Noon Show for the next 3 hours. Coming up very shortly, we're going to hear directly from some of those doctors that are signatories on the latest letter coming from health professionals in Donegal seeking an urgent meeting with the health minister. This after Letterkenny University Hospital was overlooked for a surgical hub. These are the people on the coal face. They know best what is best for the people of County Donegal. We'll hear what they have to say. Coming up after 10, Community Garda Information. Well, we'll bring you the very latest appeals and information from Garda Síochána first here on the 9 till noon show. That and so much more besides. Anything you want to talk about as well? 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number. 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 07491 25,000, 07491 25,000. And if you want to email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. We love to get your emails. If you're listening to the podcast or the overnight repeat, of course, feel free to get involved in the conversation. Email us or WhatsApp us, and we'll pick up your messages and carry them through to the next live show. Right, so loads coming up, as you can imagine. So I better rattle on with the newspapers. And the Irish Times today, one of their lead stories, a man who opened fire in a busy Carlow shopping centre before fatally wounding himself was due to appear in court tomorrow to face 13 firearm and explosive charges after being arrested last year. Gardaí believe Even Fitzgerald, 22, of Port Rushen, Kiltegan, County Carlow, who died at Fairgreen Shopping Centre in Carlow Town on Sunday evening, was fearful of going to prison. Though he was described by sources as posing a danger due to his obsession with guns, he was also regarded as vulnerable. Assistant Commissioner Paula Hillman said what was meant to be a normal day out on a bank holiday weekend had become a terrifying experience for every person that was present at the shopping centre. Gardaí had opposed bail, but he was given bail. And, it was interesting as that story was emerging on Friday, I believe it was. Was it Friday? Or Saturday, I'm confused because of the weekend. But anyway, I became aware of it very, very quickly with contacts down in Carlow. But it was just interesting to see on social media now. There's no real attempt to try and get to the truth anymore. It was like, 9 people have been shot and that it was an active shooter, even though the situation at that stage had been brought under control. And a lot of pushback on the media and the Gardaí effectively very quickly putting out that the person was a white Irish male. A lot of people going, well, why would you do that? But I suppose if you stand back and look at it logically, there was so much, as always happens now, on social media. And if you're not on social media, you're probably immune somewhat to this. But instantly, the person was being described as being from outside Ireland, that things were being said and so on and so forth. And I suppose, given the fact that we've seen what we've seen in terms of, rioting or public protest, a tough call, but probably the right thing to get his nationality out there early, because you could already see on social media things beginning to get whipped up, which is just the way things are now. We don't focus on the tragedy or we don't focus on the event itself. It's really the noise around it that becomes the story now, as I say, particularly on social media. The Irish Independent has an extensive report on the worst black spots revealed as children left waiting years to see psychologists. And it's a better picture in Donegal in this area. And I think that's down to community campaigns and what have you. But anyway, more children are now waiting longer to see a psychologist or speech and language therapist, as new figures reveal that where children live influences how fast they get an appointment. The number of children waiting more than a year to see a psychologist has risen from over 3,900 in 2021 to almost 11,000 at the end of last year. That's a jump of around 7,000. The delays for children and teenagers under 18 vary per county. The South Lee district in Cork City has been worst hit, as 1,393 face a wait of over a year to see a psychologist, compared to just 2 on the waiting list in Laois, Offaly, and an empty list in Louth. Other parts of the country with high numbers of children waiting over a year to be seen include Dublin West, Galway, Cavan, Monaghan, Mayo and Longford Westmeath. The data was released by the HSE in a parliamentary response to Marie Shields, Labour Health spokesperson. In Donegal, 86 children were awaiting in October 21. That was down to 28 in December 2024, which is quite an improvement. And whilst 28 families are going through that waiting process, it has to be said that it's much lower than in other parts of the country. And as I say, I think whilst it's not perfect, that is down to a lot of campaigning by loved ones of those affected by that. There's always a lot of interest in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, and I think because of the family holidaying in Donegal and holidaying quite soon before her passing, there's a particular interest in this part of the world. Land near the former home of the main suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann is to be searched by police this week. Last night, roads were closed and tents set up between the resort in Portugal, where the 3-year-old vanished on May 3rd, 2007, and a house nearby where Christian Bruckner once lived. Prime suspect Bruckner, 48, is imprisoned in Germany, serving 7 years for rape, and the request for yet another search was made by German police. It's not clear if they're acting on a tip-off, but a well-placed Portuguese source said the search will take place on 21 privately owned pieces of land, which in some cases are not fenced off. Wells, ruins and water storage tanks will be searched. And you would hope for the family that something might be found, but we see so often, don't we, when these searches, these historical searches take place, that very often nothing is turned up. But we hope, obviously, you would always hope that some resolution to that missing persons case is found. The Irish Daily Star today, worrying figures. Hospitals treated more than 50,000 people for self-harm between 2020 and 2023. The figures were released by the National Self-Harm Registry Ireland in reply to a Dáil question from the Laois Offaly TD Carol Nolan. It records and reports information about presentation to EDs and is operated by the National Suicide Research Foundation. Junior Health Minister Mary Butler said self-harm rates are stable year on year and there has been a decline in recent years. While there is much more to be done, it is reassuring that the rate did not increase across 22 and 23, and we now know self-harm rates did not increase during the COVID-19 pandemic. But 50,000 people being seen in hospital over a course of 3 years for self-harm is a figure I wouldn't have imagined, but there you are. A very sad news emerging over the weekend, and it's led to tributes that have been paid to a champion swimmer who died in hospital after becoming unwell at the finish line of the Cork City Marathon. Ellen Cassidy, just 24, fell ill about 1 p.m. on Sunday after she completed the half marathon. She was tended to at the scene by medics before being transferred to Cork University Hospital by ambulance and was pronounced dead a short time later. Ellen was a champion swimmer who joined Dolphin Swimming Club in Mayfield on the north side of the city when she was just 9. In a post on Facebook, the club said Ellen made a tremendous impression on everyone she met. A spokesperson wrote, Ellen swam through life with grace, strength and passion. They also described her as a positive role model for all the young swimmers. Ellen competed on behalf of her club for Munster and for Ireland as well. And also another young lady passed away, Olivia Toohey. She died after the Edinburgh Half Marathon, another young Irish woman. And finally, on to the Irish Sun. And again, if I were to ask you how many Irish people sent mass cards following the passing of Pope Francis, would you say 200, 300, 400? Well, the figure's 4,000. Almost 4,000 mass cards from Irish people following the Pope Francis death have been sent to the Vatican. Ireland's Agostical Nuncio Archbishop Louis Mariano Montemayor and An Post's Mark O'Neill made the package ready for direct delivery in Rome yesterday. It comes after a deluge of customer queries about where mass cards might be sent. An Post then offered to provide free delivery for those who wanted to send cards to the Vatican. But 4,000 of you out there across the country sending mass cards to the Vatican following the passing of Pope Francis. Quite a big figure indeed. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Our first guests will join us very shortly.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
New store, new project.
Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up, fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen? Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Injuries happen, illness strikes, but waiting in A&E doesn't have to be your only option. At Ophidia Letterkenny Minor Injuries and Illness Clinic, we treat everything from broken bones, cuts, burns, infections, rashes and more, with X-ray on site so you get answers fast. No appointments, no delays, just expert care right when you need it. Don't wait. Walk in today or visit ophidia.ie. Ophidia Letterkenny. Expert care without the wait.
As part of National Food Waste Recycling Week, Donegal County Council, in partnership with Bryson Recycling and EnviroGrind Limited, will be having free compost giveaway events. Householders can collect free compost made from food and garden waste. Food waste recycling starter packs will also be available to support the use of the food waste recycling bin. Compost giveaway days take place on Tuesday, 3rd of June, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Letterkenny Recycling Centre, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Dunlow Recycling Centre. Wednesday, 4th of June, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Carrendonagh Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. in Milford Recycling Centre. Thursday, 5th of June, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Lahey Recycling Centre and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Stranola Recycling Centre. Householders should bring their own bags or container to collect the compost. Compost available while stocks last.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is?
The time now is 16 minutes past 9. Over 100 senior doctors from Letterkenny University Hospital and local GPs have issued an urgent call for a meeting with Minister for Health Jennifer Carroll McNeill to address what they describe as a critical threat to patient care and health equality in the North West. As you would know, despite being the sole hospital serving the entire county of Donegal, Letterkenny University Hospital has been excluded from consideration as the location for the new surgical hub planned by the HSE. Instead, Sligo University Hospital has been put forward as the sole preferred option, a decision the clinicians call flawed, unjustified and deeply damaging. Now, I don't think anyone wishes to preclude Sligo University Hospital for having a surgical hub, but it's certainly, why does it have to be either or, I think is the place where we're at. Okay, to discuss this, I'm joined on the programme by a couple of guests. Firstly, Dr. Anya Keating, Consultant Emergency Medicine at Letterkenny University Hospital and spokesperson for concerned consultants and GPs of Letterkenny University Hospital. Dr. Keating, thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on your show, Greg.
No, it's such an important issue. We'll also be speaking to Dr. Ciara Steele, as you would know, a GP in Buncrana. Good morning, Ciara. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, Greg, and thank you.
Right, Dr. Keating, I'll start with you, if that's okay. One of the things that is actually hard to believe in all of this, and we'll get into the nitty-gritties of it, is that it seems to be that population was used as one of the main criteria for Sligo being chosen over Letterkenny. And I've tried to crunch the figures and look at it every which way, and it all adds up to the fact that doesn't seem to make any sense. Can you make any sense of that?
You're absolutely right, Greg. It doesn't make any sense because the statistics and the data doesn't back the decision that is being proposed to put Sligo ahead of Letterkenny in terms of getting a surgical hub. We believe that decision-making process is flawed and unjustified. And when you do look at the statistics, it's very obvious to everyone living in Donegal it is much larger population, and even the integrated health area that it serves is still much larger. Even if you combine the population of Sligo, Leitrim and Cavan, it still doesn't add up to the same amount of people that live in Donegal. Letterkenny University Hospital serves over 160 100,000 people and patients. So if we do not get a surgical hub in Letterkenny, that means we don't get resources, infrastructure, but critically, we will really struggle to recruit and retain surgeons. And if we cannot do that, this means for the population that we will not be able to do emergency surgery, and the hospital will essentially downgrade. What does that mean to everybody out there in our community? Well, that means if you have a perforated appendix at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or any time of day, you will be bypassed from Letterkenny and have to probably travel as far as Sligo or Galway to try and get emergency care. But patients don't know what's wrong with them sometimes when they come in, and that's our job to figure that out. But they're often, with these sort of conditions, they're time sensitive and they need their emergency surgery as quickly as possible. So if they're not able to get this, death, it could be on the cards for them. This is as stark as it is. It doesn't get much worse than this, Greg.
So would the surgical hub then have been seen as, a commitment to Letterkenny University Hospital, a pathway towards the future? Because really,
Correct.
Whilst we haven't received the surgical hub, right, nothing has changed. So why would we see this tailing off then of services?
So the surgical hub brings a resource and infrastructure to the area which is badly needed. So as you're aware, when you're in a hospital, there is an acute need for beds at all times. So elective care gets cancelled. The surgical hub is a freestanding unit that's pre-designed. It takes about 24 months to be implemented. Usually, looking at what's happened nationally here with implementation in Galway, Limerick, Cork, and Dublin. So we're looking at a very fast turnaround. And with that, if you're trying to recruit surgeons, which Letterkenny is trying to do imminently, that they would see that this structure is available, that they can do their day cases and their electives aren't getting cancelled ahead of the acute bed pressures that A&E, our department, is putting in on the rest of the hospital. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it's a really basic need. Like, Letterkenny is the second busiest Model 3 hospital in the whole of Ireland. So Drogheda, outside Dublin, which is a large urban area, is the busiest Model 3, and then we are the second busiest Model 3. If you want to do it in the context of all the hospitals in Ireland, we're the sixth busiest. We cannot afford to fail in this hospital, but it seems that if we are not invested in properly, there's a real risk of this hospital downgrading, and there's a real risk of the service collapse.
Yeah. If you look then at the proposed developments in Sligo, so the surgical hub has been improved for Sligo, fantastic for them.
Yeah.
There's also other investments in providing extra beds and new equipment and what have you. And you see also a list of investment that is due to take place in Galway University Hospital. Anyone from the outside looking on would say, right, okay, the HSE locally see a future in these facilities because they're investing big into those.
Yes.
And then conversely, if you were to look at what's happening in Letterkenny University Hospital being overlooked with this strange argument of population being used, and then you see what's coming down the line, some work on health and safety and fire and all that, which is very, very important, don't get me wrong. But in terms of the medical future of it, as I say, just step away, come down from another planet and look on. What is the commitment to Letterkenny University Hospital from the HSE? Because it seems to be that the medical solution for patients here is in Sligo or Galway going forward.
Correct. That would seem as to what it is, Greg, and that's why 170 clinicians have signed this letter towards Minister McNeill to urge her to reconsider any decisions that have been made to her on recommendations by the HSE regarding the implementation of a surgical hub in Sligo for the Northwest, because we feel that this is real danger for Letterkenny and this could end up causing a downgrade. We don't have to go too far to see when this has happened. If you look back to 2022 in Enniskillen, they lost their surgical services and essentially their emergency department was downgraded, because once you lose a surgeon, you can't operate an emergency department, you can't operate maternity services. So the whole hospital got downgraded, and those patients now have to face long travel times to Altnagalvin or Craigavon. And if they do arrive in Enniskillen, they have to wait there, and they have to wait for a lengthy period of time before they're accepted by the surgical team up in Altnagalvin. And as we know, in Altnagalvin is snowed under with the pressure they are facing because of the overcrowding situation. Again, in Ireland, we don't need to go far to look to see what happened down in Limerick. Limerick has absorbed the closure of Ennis and Neenah, and that has caused a massive overcrowding issue in their emergency department and in their hospitals, and that untimely and unjustified death of a young girl. And that has resonated towards Ireland, and I really hope that we do not face the same issue here in Donegal, but I fear it will happen. And as doctors and as in this area, we just want to wish the public are aware, and we want to warn the public that this could happen if we don't protect our services here in Donegal.
If that does trouble the public, the reality is that you have to back these people. You have to back these medical professionals in it, because it's a very powerful voice, but the public voice is incredibly powerful as well. And whilst you might not be in hospital at the moment, or maybe you haven't been in hospital in the last 6 months or a year, and fantastic, but if you have, you're far more invested in this. And that's a problem, I think, in getting public support, that unless you're directly affected by health, you kind of seem to overlook the issue. Now, I should point out at this stage, we're in this, it's kind of bizarre but fortuitous too at the same time. The Minister for Health still has not received the business case. So we're having a conversation as if this is a fait accompli. The Minister was very quick to point out to me during a recent visit. In fact, she kind of, recoiled a little bit in saying that decision hasn't been made. I haven't been notified of this decision. She still hasn't, which means there is an opportunity here potentially for her to see this case and maybe review. And I'll be honest with you, I think it'd be very worthwhile for her office to actually do a full review of the decision-making process. Because we're this is live, so there's a great opportunity. I'll come back to you if that's okay in a moment, Anya. But I do want to bring in Dr. Steele here. I mean, as you're at the coal face, and there's lots going on, but you're also trying to convince patients that they need to go to the hospital, and they're saying to you, "I'm not going down there. We need to get past this." But anyway, we'll come to that in a moment. What's your what's your view in all of this, Dr. Steele?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose there's 3 main points that I want to make. First of all, that there's an incredible amount of unity saying that it's absolutely necessary for this surgical elective unit to be placed in Letterkenny. There's unity among politicians, there's unity among clinicians, and that's GP and hospital clinicians, because we understand that there's a very serious clinical care impact for every man, woman and child in Donegal that's accessing the hospital service in Letterkenny. It's not just travel time, which is significant. It's not just the fact that the decision is questionable based on the parameters that were given to make the decision, and because the population and demographics don't support that, but it's also that there will be migration of surgical personnel in Letterkenny Hospital to other sites because they can't do elective surgery in Letterkenny at the moment. And if there is more opportunity in other sites, the personnel won't be recruited in Letterkenny to support surgical services. Now that means breast care. We've already lost our breast surgeon to Galway. We've already had another replacement surgeon decline an opportunity to work in Letterkenny because of the lack of opportunity for elective surgery. We've already lost a urologist, Mr. Aslam, who declared that one of the reasons for leaving was the lack of opportunity to do elective surgery. So we already know that the situation is critical. Without any development of services biased to Sligo, without replacement in Letterkenny as well. So what we're saying is that there's a flawed decision here that we need 100%, absolutely, and no question. Everybody is united in stating that Letterkenny needs an elective surgical unit for the preservation and sustainment of services in Letterkenny. And it's not just that nothing will happen if we don't get it. It will be critically impactful if we don't get it. So what that means is already we have people on waiting lists, really long waiting lists. I personally had a patient that was on the waiting list for cholecystectomy, lap chole. So that's an elective procedure. Developed cholecystitis and sepsis, and then developed a stroke. Now this patient was on a waiting list for a pretty routine elective surgery, but there's incapacity to facilitate all of the elective surgeries within the designated sláinte care timeframes, because the elective surgeries are constantly being cancelled to cater for urgent and emergency care.
Yeah,
So
I just
that's
want to
where we're
clarify
going
too,
to-
just explain what elective surgery is, because I think maybe people think elective is something that you choose, and it sort of has it has a nicer ring to it, right, than being rushed into the operational room.
So you could say non-urgent for elective surgery, or you could say planned. Okay, so the elective surgery units are based on the Reeves model in Tala Hospital, and all the units are pre-formed, they're pre-planned, and they're pre-staffed, and they come with staffing and funding in a particular unit. So they cater for 10,000 planned surgeries per year in one of these elective units. So that is going to take the pressure, which we know is in existence, off the urgent care in Letterkenny. And it's astounding that the HSE didn't consider Letterkenny as a primary site, given that we raised these concerns as GPs only a year ago.
And it was quite literally contained within it, calling for this and outlining the importance of it. Dr. Keating, you know, I don't want to trivialize things at all, and I'm not. But, you know, if you've got a child and, you know, they want something, and you sort of promise them something else to try and appease them so you can have a couple of minutes, you know, peace and quiet, some people might feel that that's kind of what's happened on a county-wide scale with this ambulatory centre. Don't be disappointed about the surgical hub. This is bigger and better. But the truth be told, at the moment it's a sketch on a wall. There is no progress in that whatsoever. The HSE hasn't committed funding. This could be years and years and years away. And maybe it's someone's legacy project. I don't know what the story is. But as a medical professional, when you're being told, and you're being told equal to me, you're not getting a surgical hub, but hold your horses because you're going to get an ambulatory centre, which is bigger and better. What's your reaction to that?
We would welcome an ambulatory care centre, and it is much needed. And when it ever comes, it will be used and the patients will be there too. And it'll be great for the County Donegal. However, it is not a replacement for a surgical hub. As you said, there's actually no funding for this. There's no plan for this. There's no timeline for this ambulatory hub. And when you look historically at how long it takes to actually develop an ambulatory hub or any sort of building in the HSE processes, you're looking at a good 7 years. And actually, if we go back to 2011, 2012, consultants signing contracts for the hospital at that stage were promised an ambulatory care hub, and it never materialised. So I would just err with caution to any suggestions. I think it might be a little bit of smokes and screens going on that this ambulatory care hub is going to fix all our problems. There's no tangible timeline for it, and there's no funding behind it. With regard to the surgical hub, these are pre-designed. Essentially, they're already kind of approved at HSE level. All you have to do is the contractor comes in and builds it. And this already happened in several other areas of Ireland, and it's done in a very time-efficient manner. So this is actually tangible. This is something, this is real, you know, developing
it's
real
costed, isn't it? 60 million.
Not just some vague alternative.
Yeah. It's there or there about 60 million. We know how to build it. We know how much it costs roughly. It's quite, you know, it's relatively simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it comes with the funding, and it comes with the staffing alongside it. So this is all huge funding, and it is essentially surgical hub is an excellent idea, and it is kind of preposterous as to why it wasn't Letterkenny wasn't ever even considered.
Dr. Steele, you wanted to come in there.
The ambulatory care unit, the plan for that doesn't exist at the moment. So that has to go through design tenders, architect tenders, building tenders. And we know how long that takes because we're waiting 4 years for a lab extension, you know, which is an extremely small unit. So, you know, we know that these promises can sometimes be sidelined. For example, the endoscopy unit, it was 13 years we're waiting on it there. You know, at the moment there's a unit in the car park, a mobile unit that's being rented when there was funding allocated 13 years ago by James Riley for the endoscopy unit. At that time, there was that was a business plan for 10,000 endoscopies a year. Currently, there's 16,000 endoscopies a year. So the care needs of the hospital in Letterkenny are growing exponentially all the time. This is a unit that can be delivered in 24 months. It 100% needs to be in Letterkenny. If HSE want to bring an ambulatory care unit down the road, we very much welcome that. If HSE want to have a surgical elective unit site on Sligo, we very much welcome that. But what we're saying is 100%, and we're all united from all stakeholders in health in this community in Donegal, that there needs to be an elective surgical site in Letterkenny delivered.
Dr. Keating, it must be very difficult for the staff down there. I presume there's an imbalance of staff in terms of, those that are learning the ropes, those that are experienced. You look at what we're talking about now, you look at sort of a historical level of underfunding in the hospital, and then you see Sligo sort of emerging with the bells and whistles, so to speak. And again, no one wants anything taken from Sligo. That's not the purpose of the conversation. It's why not too.
On the ground floor, it does seem that this is actually just a basic healthcare right. This is about patient equity and safety. We're not looking to take away from Sligo. We're looking to get our patients that we see day on day out the right care and the safe care that they need. It's just as basic as that, Greg. And it's unfortunate that 170 doctors have to come out and say it, but we really believe that we're at a crux and at a real crucial time, and we really need to get this message across to the Minister and to the HSE that we need support here in Donegal and that we need the resources in order to make sure that we're delivering safe and good clinical care.
We're willing to meet the Minister, to put forward, the clinicians.
Well, I think she'd be flabbergasted, Ciara. I think, because I think, I was able... I mean, obviously a minister, when they visit areas, they're briefed about certain things. They can't know everything about everywhere. Yeah. And some of the questions she seemed almost taken aback from. I can't imagine that this minister could sit in front of a sample of that 170 and go, this is crazy. I didn't know this was going on.
And I'd just like to say, we are talking about the surgical side of things, but the elective hub provides surgical space in minor procedures for dermatology. And we know there's a deficit in dermatology service. It's very difficult to recruit a dermatology service specific to the site in Letterkenny. So it will provide minor surgery procedures for skin cancers, on the site as well. So it has the option for service development in gynecology, ophthalmology, and DNT as well. And these are all service developments that have happened in the Reeves development of the surgical elective site and the primary site in Tala. So, that's a template. And what we're saying is if we refuse the opportunity to fight for this, there's two things that will happen. Service development will stall, but the negative impact will be massive. And it can't be underestimated that we can't lose our cancer services here in Letterkenny just because we can't recruit surgeons to resect solid tumours electively. I mean, that's massive.
And I think sometimes when people... That's probably a good example of what closing something by stealth looks like. You're not actually closing it. You're not making a decision to close it. But factors lead to services being withdrawn. We can't staff it. We've been advertising these jobs for years. No one wants to come up here. And it can kind of sometimes look like the HSE's insulated because from the outside in, I want to ask you a question, Dr. Keating, as well. And I don't know how to phrase this. I'm talking about personalities or anything here. And if there's no answer, there's no answer. But was there a role from the hospital to argue the case for this, right? So we had a year ago doctors and consultants saying we need a surgical hub. But then this issue was raised very recently at a HSE forum meeting. And the general manager at that meeting was speaking only about this ambulatory centre. I didn't hear any reference to what effort was made to campaign from a managerial level for a surgical hub. It was talking about how, hold on, this ambulatory centre is bigger and better. It's a surgical hub plus, right? So, are we confident? I mean, obviously, as I say, through the letter last year, you guys made your position very clear. But are we confident locally we would champion Letterkenny University Hospital as a surgical hub?
Thank you for that question. I think, it came to, this came to fruition, or I came aware that the surgical hub was being put forward for the Northwest for Sligo maybe about 2 years ago. The rumour mill was starting then. And I think, that has been kind of, the HSE and the sales and management have clearly signalled a preference for Sligo, and the final recommendations are imminent. However, as clinicians, as concerned clinicians, we've disputed that, and we obviously know that the statistics behind Letterkenny stack up more in favour of Letterkenny due to geography, due to population needs and healthcare needs as well. So I think then when the Oreo, the Ceuta Group suggested an ambulatory care hub, this would also obviously allow for the cancer services and some of the haematology services to be backed in on that. But there is just, from a reality point of view, and we as clinicians on the ground work in reality, that the surgical hub is a lot more achievable than this ambulatory care facility that has only, as you say, is only a plan on a wall with no actually tendering processes done, and is about at least 7 years, and actually over 10-15 years ago was promised and never delivered. So I think in reality we're being promised something, but in reality I don't know if it'll ever be achieved. So what we want to make sure is that we're actually getting some resources into the county, because we know we're at a critical crossroads and we can't stand back and let it happen. We have to fight for this at this moment in time. And as 170 doctors in the hospital and in the community, we're forthright in saying that this is what we demand, and we demand better healthcare for the patients in Donegal.
Finally, from you, I want to come back specifically to you, Ciara, and I'll give you the last word. Just finally from you, Dr. Keating.
Yeah.
Last year in the letter, we were at crisis point. We're in a critical situation. We're a year on, crisis point, critical situation. How long can we limp on? I know you can't timeline it.
I appreciate your question, and I think there are opportunities here. Like, I think, we have a fantastic bunch of clinicians here. We're all working together, and that's a massive thing. Never in the history of the Irish state have you seen 170 clinicians come together and sign a letter we all want this to work. Believe me, we're all energized. We all want this to work, and to get that support from the government would energize us, Greg. And I know that Mr. Michael Sugrue is actually being commissioned to write a Model 3 Letterkenny clinical care report, and he has finalised that. It's in draft form, and it has been submitted to the head of the Ceuta Group for review. And in that, it outlines the key steps we need to take as a hospital to push the hospital forward and make sure it doesn't fall behind again, and make sure it doesn't fall behind the rest of the country. So we have a plan in place. We just need the support from the government now, and we need them to listen to us.
And you need the support from the HSE regionally, actually, to argue that report, whenever it's produced, should be implemented. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? The HSE locally, Ceuta, they have to take that on board and use Sugrue as a battering ram, Mr. Sugrue as a battering ram. I don't know what way you would phrase it, but it can't sit in a desk. Very finally, before I go back to Dr. Steele, if you could speak directly to the Health Minister today, what would you say to her?
Minister McNeill, I would like you just to defer any decision-making process that has gone around the surgical hub. I need you to look at the empirical data. I need you to use evidence-based and compare the statistics of the population and the healthcare needs of patients in Donegal versus Sligo, and when you decide where this hub for the Northwest will go. And you need to understand the consequences of not implementing a hub in Letterkenny, and how that would affect recruitment of talented surgeons to the area, and the future of the hospital would be compromised.
All right. Powerful stuff. Thank you very much indeed. I very much do appreciate your time. Dr. Ciara Steele, what do you want to say?
I just want to reiterate that there is distribution deficits which are historical and still seem to be current in the funding. That anybody who makes a decision to say wait for services to come into Letterkenny, that's a flawed rationale, because there's an impact in waiting, and we can see that on our patients every day. We can see that the patient waiting for a hernia repair that has a strangulated hernia, and we can see that for patients geographically that have another patient that finds it hard to travel with macular degeneration, and because of social factors. So what we're saying is that there's impacts in waiting for delivery for an ambulatory model that at this point in time is a figment of somebody's imagination, which may become fruitful at the end of the day. But we want real deliverable health care improvements that are required now, and that is the elective surgical hub in Letterkenny. And anybody that is not taking that into account with respect to the demographics, the deprivation index, the care needs, the geography, the isolation of Letterkenny, we need to question whether they're advocating for Letterkenny Hospital at all.
And just finally, on a local level, drilling it down to your surgery, as best as you try and as best as Dr. Anya try, this has to affect people's prognosis, their outcomes. You already cited a very specific example of how someone's situation was allowed to deteriorate. It might not have happened if in a different part of the country with different resources. That's not acceptable. We can't accept that as Donegal people, can we?
No, I mean, I think Donegal is one of the worst 5-year cancer survival rates in the country, and that needs to be improved, not further impacted. We have, half the funding of Sligo Hospital for literally the same amount of acute admissions. There has been historically a sort of unequal distribution of funding to Letterkenny. That needs to change, not get worse. So it impacts all outcomes. It impacts acute care, because of the fact that people are having worsening conditions, sitting on waiting lists, which are one of the longest in the country for first appointments and for review appointments. It's, at this point in time, we're really, really worried for the standards of clinical care based on political decisions. And that's why we've all stood together. The politicians in the area are for this. The GPs are for this based on clinical need, not political decisions, but based on clinical need that we see within the community, based on what we see by saying goodbye to so many consultants who move because of lack of capacity to do elective surgery or onerous rotas. And, the Model 3 report will lay this out in great detail for all departments, not just the surgical unit. But what we're saying to people is people in Donegal tend to be really resilient, really stoic, and just actually get on with things. But what we're saying is you can't actually do that with this. This decision is the pebble that causes the ripples, that causes the tidal wave of collapse of surgical services in Letterkenny. And we just want people to be aware of that.
And if you're 35 or 40 and in good health now and you don't think this affects you, it does, because what kind of a hospital will be there when you need that assistance?
Well, I just have to tell you that my patient that had a serious consequence was in their 40s.
Okay, I'll get you. Yeah, I understand. I'm just trying to tap into the apathy that sometimes is there in the area of health.
Sorry for interruption.
Not at all, Ciara. That's why we invite you on. It's a pleasure to speak to you. And I think I hope, I have faith in this health minister. I don't know where it's coming from, but I just feel that when she looks at the data that she won't ignore this. I'm not saying it means that we might get a surgical hub. I don't know. But I would be of the view that I would like to give her a chance to actually listen to what you guys have to say, because she does seem to be a common sense minister.
Yeah. And I think that the decision to introduce a surgical hub into the Northwest followed on from the argument that the 6 other hubs were based on a line between Galway to Dublin. Now, they are all within like an hour and a half of each other. And there's advantages to that, so there's advantages to that as well. But we are 100% certain that centralising a hub, if there's to be only one, needs to happen in Letterkenny, but we would prefer there to be 2 sites.
Yeah, for sure. Dr. Steele, thanks very much indeed. Take care of yourself. All right. Very significant. It's very, very significant. As I say, the minister not available this morning. She's still not received the business case, and hopefully that business case gets scrutiny. As you can imagine, we invited various politicians on. Government TD Pat the Cope Gallagher. He agrees with this case and is doing all he can to ensure the hub comes to Letterkenny. I think he's preferring to maybe work on this behind the scenes. I don't know. I think the people of Donegal would like to hear from all of our TDs, be they Fianna Fáil or Sinn Féin or others. He says, though, he's meeting with the HSE in the next 2 weeks and will be putting Donegal's case very strongly at that table. The HSE, it's the health minister at this point. The HSE have made their views clear on Donegal, I think. Did we invite Minister McConalogue on, Caroline? No, we shall. We shall invite him to see if he'll come on and speak about it. So Pat the Cope Gallagher refused an invite onto the show. We know Charlie McConalogue's view of me in the show, so he may not come on. But I think outside of defective concrete and for some equal to it, this is the biggest story in Donegal. This is about lives. There's not anything bigger than this, really. the medical professionals are exacerbated, this is the biggest story. I know it might seem not, you might be listening at home and don't think so, but trust me, it is. This is our lives, our kids' lives, our mums and dad lives, our granny and granddad's lives, their outcomes. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This determines how long you survive with cancer. This determines whether you get better from cancer. This determines how quickly you're seen if you're in a road traffic collision. It doesn't get any bigger than this. So outside of the housing crisis, this is it. This is huge. This is life and death. And I'm not exaggerating it. It is. Hopefully you're in good health. You don't have to go near the hospital. But we're hearing directly from the people involved in local GP care and from those working within the hospital themselves. Dr. Anya Keaton, a consultant in emergency medicine, speaking directly from the front line. Dr. Ciara Steele, a GB on Buncrana. They are just two of 171 medical professionals that are really, really concerned about your outcomes if you were to get sick or need treatment. As I say, in my view, it does not get any bigger outside of the awful housing crisis that we have through defective concrete blocks.
Planning holidays, creating memories. Atlantic Travel on Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny bring you today's 9 till noon show. See atlantictravel.ie.
Ensure the safety of your team with SafeTech. We have part-funded courses in first aid, people moving and handling, confined spaces, food hygiene, quad bikes, fire warden, IPAF MUPS, electrofusion, welding and machinery cards for Ireland and UK sites. Also delivering online courses like utilities, water hygiene and construction supervisors. SafeTech can deliver group training at your business premises. To find out more, contact safetech.ie today.
The Irish Independent says the all-new Dacia Bigster offers style, comfort and agility. It's the big family car with big space, big tech, a big boot and big hybrid power with a not-so-big price tag. From an incredible €29,990 with low-cost finance options available. Visit your local Dacia dealer to find out more. Price excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply, subject to lending criteria. Offers are limited. See dacia.ie.
Maybe you're walking home with a guy you really like after a night in the college bar. Or maybe you and another fella are heading back to his in a taxi after meeting in a club. Or perhaps you've gone home with someone after a really great fourth date. There are lots of times and places where we need to say what we want and what we don't want. Whatever the moment, have the consent conversation.
A message from Cuan, a Government of Ireland agency.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Find the perfect gift for Dad at Dunnes Stores. From casual linen shirts to new summer knitwear, you'll find everything you need for Father's Day. Treat Dad to a sophisticated look from designer Paul Costello, or golfwear from Porrick Harrington's latest collection for his summer plans on the green. If Dad loves to cook, shop Nevin Maguire's tried and tested cookware range. Or if you just can't choose, schedule an e-gift card to land in his inbox on Father's Day. Shop in-store or online now. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
Unleash your creative spirit this Crinan and Nog and join us on Saturday, June 7th for a free day of youthful creativity. There are events for everyone aged up to 18 years across Donegal, from Carndonagh to Bundoran and Aaron Ward to Raphoe. It's an opportunity to try new creative skills. All details, including booking, are available at donegalculture.ie.
Doherty SuperValue Carndonagh proudly supports local. Enjoy Norris potatoes and Donegal harvest potatoes. Gallagher's and Daniel Doherty's bread. Real local products, supporting real local jobs. Thanks for shopping local and backing community producers with every basket at Doherty SuperValue Carndonagh.
Irish strawberry season is here. Let the fun begin.
Pick up a punnet of Keeling's Irish strawberries in store today. Tasty, sweet, feel-good fruit. Fresh from our farm. Love that Keeling's feeling.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonaher Road, Donegal Town.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, very interested in your calls and comments coming in relation to the last item. I'll be taking clips from that and sending them to the Health Minister's office. I'm sure she will come across it one way or other anyway, because we do have a big reach on socials, because we stream this show on X and Facebook, and it generally finds the eyes and ears of those who make decisions. But if that doesn't work, certainly I'm going to post some of the clips from that piece, tag the minister in. So, ignorance can't be a defence. Ignorance in that sense, by the way, it means a lack of knowledge of a situation. It doesn't mean ignorance in the more derogative way. The weather today will be breezy, scattered showers and sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees with a moderate to fresh and gusty southwest to west breeze. We can't reach every GP or every consultant or every medical professional. If you want to have a say on that yourself, if you work in medicine, if you feel the situation needs to be driven home a little bit further, please feel free to contact us 07491 25,000. As I say, not wishing to scare anyone, but we can't bury our heads in the sand. There's a small window here. You've heard from medical professionals. It's not me. You've heard from the campaigners who've been on about this for years and years. Apparently, this is all my fault, by the way, because I'm encouraging unfettered foreigners coming into Donegal, and that's the years of underfunding at the hospital and the surgical hub not coming to Letterkenny. Apparently, it's funny how people always find a way to try and pin something to their own interest. You should also factor into that, listener, that half of the working staff down there are people from outside Ireland, and we'd be completely banjaxed if it wasn't for them. Focus on, I would suggest, HSE management, the health minister, rather than the other stuff, because you're just giving people a pass there. Would Donegal TDs resign their seats to cause an election, as this, like defective concrete, is just another terrible kick between the legs for anyone living in Donegal? I'm sure the doctors who are respected throughout the county can get Donegal people onto the streets, but I fear that Donegal people will be ignored again by the 100-year plus Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Friends government. There's been lots of different parties in government as well, all elected by the people. Congratulations to Greg on a great interview. If Highland Radio keeps highlighting the hospital, hopefully we can get the surgical hub in Letterkenny. Keep up the good work from a Milford listener. Well, sometimes people think we overdo it, but I mean, I have a platform here, and I know from speaking to people from within the hospital how dire the situation is, how worried they are for people. If this is the hill that I die on, that's all right. I'm prepared to do that, but this is really, really important. This is our lives and our health and our futures and our children's futures as well. It is really, really quite significant. Greg, can you not get a council person to say a few words to put their weight behind us? Yeah, well, as I say, the lines are open to them as well. We can't reach out to everybody, for obvious reasons, but no one's excluded. Everyone's invited. We'll be speaking, I think, to Sinn Féin reps in the next hour about that issue. As I say, so far, government TDs have opted not to speak to us, and that is their democratic, God-given right. But just off the back of a couple of texts, I'm letting you know that that's the reason why you're not hearing these voices. News is on the way.
Planning holidays, creating memories. Atlantic Travel on Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny, bring you today's 9 till noon show. See atlantictravel.ie.
Put your best foot forward for National Heritage Week. Organise an event that helps your community explore our foundations. From ancient stone to local song or something unique we can all enjoy. Register your event at heritageweek.ie today. National Heritage Week is a programme of the Heritage Council supported by the Local Authority Heritage Networks and the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
Hybrid, plug-in hybrid, electric. Don't get confused. Get excited with Toyota, Ireland's best-selling car brand. At Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles, you get the power of choice. There's our wide range to see, including the Toyota CHR and the all-electric BZ4X, with power-up boosters of up to €3,000 and flexible payment options available. So order now at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world. T's and C's apply. Best-selling claim based on latest figures.
Discover a new way to cook outdoors with the Ninja Woodfire Electric Barbecue Grill, now at Ben Sweeney Euronics. It's a grill, smoker and air fryer all in one, with 7 cooking functions, no charcoal, gas or flames needed. Woodfire technology delivers real smoky flavour anywhere, in the garden, patio or in the campsite. Weather resistant and ready year round. Get the Ninja Woodfire Electric Barbecue Grill at Ben Sweeney Euronics, Letterkenny and Dunlow.
Don't miss the 23rd Annual Vintage Show this Sunday at the Carrickfield, Moville. All the usual attractions, cars, tractors and steam engines, plus craft tent, trade stands, wacky lawnmower racing and the hilarious pot gene makers. Plus Ireland's top children's entertainer, Billy Bubbles. Lots to see and do with threshing demo, fun fair, cash prize competitions and lots more. A fun day for all the family. This Sunday at the Carrickfield, Moville.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. A Donegal doctor says a decision to put Sligo University Hospital forward as the preferred location for a surgical hub is health inequality at its most stark. Dr Pádraig McGuinness is one of 171 doctors demanding an urgent meeting with the Health Minister to address what they describe as a critical threat to patient care and health equality in the North West. The group is now seeking a meeting with Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill within the next month. A moratorium on final decisions regarding the surgical hub's location until a fair, evidence-based comparison is completed and for an independent review of the HSE's rationale for selecting Sligo University Hospital over Letterkenny. Dr McGuinness says he will not stand by and allow people in Donegal suffer.
The population of Donegal is about 165,000. The population of Sligo, Leitrim, South Donegal and West Cavan together is only 102,000, so the population base doesn't stack up. The second thing it doesn't stack up, of course, is geography. Patients of mine in Fanad or the Innishowen Peninsula or the Far West over in Gweedore, they have to travel 2 hours to go to Sligo to have your procedures done. If you had it in Letterkenny, no one in Sligo, Leitrim or Donegal would have more than 90 minutes to travel. It's a no-brainer for us. This is health inequality at its most stark and we won't allow it to happen.
Meanwhile, Dr Anya Keating, consultant emergency medicine at Letterkenny University Hospital, told today's 9 till noon show that she and others fear the hospital will effectively be downgraded without a surgical hub.
We feel that this is real danger for Letterkenny and this could end up causing a downgrade. We don't have to go too far to see when this has happened. If you look back to 2022 in Enniskillen, they lost their surgical services and essentially their emergency department was downgraded because once you lose a surgeon, you can't operate an emergency department, you can't operate maternity services. So the whole hospital got downgraded and those patients now have to face long travel times to Altnagalvin or Craigavon.
Psychology waiting lists of over a year for children in Donegal have more than halved. 86 under-18s were waiting over 12 months to be seen by a psychologist in the county in October 2021. Figures from the Irish Independent show that the number dropped 58% to 28 in December of last year. Nationally, the number of children waiting more than a year to see a psychologist has risen to almost 11,000 from 3,900 in 2021. Plans to allow the Land Development Agency to move into private housing delivery should ring alarm bells. That's according to the former chair of the Housing Agency, as plans are to be considered by ministers to give sweeping new powers to the state-sponsored body. It follows warnings from officials of dwindling plots of state land to build on. Sunday Independent columnist Conor Skehan says it's a sign of misdirection and misunderstanding of the root causes of the housing problem.
We currently have a half dozen government agencies dealing with housing and another one being proposed to add now of that. How many more do we need? Every time we add a new one, we change the rules, we change the certainty and we give more reason for somebody who's got land or finance the excuse to defer their decision to build until a better deal comes along.
Sinn Féin councillor Rory McHugh has been elected as the new mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council. He takes over the role from councillor Lillian Sinoy Barr. Meanwhile, the DUP's alderman Neary McMorris has been announced as deputy mayor. Councillor McHugh says he feels very proud and humbled to be given the opportunity to take up the position. He's committed to focusing on inclusive leadership, continued development and unwavering support for the community. Kirchhoff Ireland has announced its first large-scale training and transformation initiative will be based at its Letterkenny facility. It's part of an investment of around €900,000 over the next 2 years. The training programme will focus on innovation, sustainability and digitalisation. A fresh search operation for Madeleine McCann is underway in Portugal this morning, 18 years after her disappearance. She was 3 when she vanished on a family holiday in Praia de Luz in 2007. German officers will scour more than 20 plots of land close to where prime suspect Christian B lived. He denies any involvement. Sky's Dan Whitehead, who's there, says there may be challenges.
This is very dense, wild scrubland on the perimeter of a golf course and new housing estates. Ruins of buildings, there's old stones, it's very thick, coarse grassland, so it's difficult territory.
Weather now today will be breezy with scattered showers and some sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice says for this Tuesday morning, June the 3rd. The death has occurred of Robert William Stewart, known as Roy, Killy Desert, Letterkenny. His remains are reposing at his home. House private to close family and friends only, please, and also on the morning of the funeral at the request of the deceased. Funeral prayers at his home tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, followed by burial in Gortley Cemetery. Everyone is welcome to attend the committal. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Parkinson's Society, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. The death has taken place of James Jim Park, Glenmaquin, Letterkenny, County Donegal. Remains reposing at his late residence today from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral from his late residence tomorrow afternoon at 12:15 for 1 o'clock service of Thanksgiving in St Junan's Cathedral, Raphoe, with burial afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. Family time on the morning of the funeral. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired to the Stroke Unit, Letterkenny University Hospital and St Junan's Cathedral, Raphoe, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. And the death has taken place of Mark Devine, 300 Lisnafin Park, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving there this morning at 10:20 for Requiem Mass in St Teresa's Church at Sion Mills at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Us Irish like to think we know when something sounds too good to be true, like getting a quick and easy car insurance quote.
Ah, come off it.
Plus great value cover.
You're joking.
From a trusted provider.
Pull the other leg.
And most of the time, we're right. But not this time. See for yourself at onpostinsurance.ie. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Best price online.
Welcome back to Tuesday's 9 till noon show. I do hope you're very well indeed. Garda Grania is going to be joining us shortly with the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. Another Grania emailed in, on behalf of older people, I'm appealing to all people to support the efforts of the doctors to get a surgical hub in Letterkenny. Email the minister and contact all politicians. Exercise people power, she says. Maybe select ministers on their experience in a particular field, i.e. health minister, a background in health. This is done in all other jobs outside politics. But we had a Taoiseach that was a GP. And some might say that maybe didn't have the positive impact on health that it potentially could have. So I don't think that's a guarantee. I think really you need a minister, and I've kind of changed my views on this a little bit. I think you need a minister that is prepared to take on, people within their department. I think that's really what is needed. And maybe Minister McNeil is that person. Who's to say? A caller says, it looks like our GPs need to look at some sort of strike action or work to rule. No one's listening to talk. That comes in from Bridget. But Bridget, it's really significant what they've done today. It really is. And it would be very hard to ignore, not just locally, but nationally as well. And it would be very hard for the Health Minister to ignore. It's quite timely. The Health Minister has not received the business model for a surgical hub in Sligo. 60-odd million is the startup cost for a surgical hub. One can be put into Donegal as well. She must do the right thing, and I believe I have no evidence of this. I just feel that possibly this could be a campaign that works. Why have 80-year-olds go to Sligo for cataracts on a bus? You tell me. It makes no sense. And I know elderly people that don't go on that bus because of the journey. And the Taoiseach's going around saying we never had it so good, that we are a rich country, that we're paying $2 billion plus for the Children's Hospital in Dublin. Yet we cannot perform surgery in Letterkenny. Who's kidding who? Donegal's being deliberately neglected in healthcare, defective concrete, Garda numbers, etc. That's the reality, that caller says. I had a car crash in January. I had an MRI last month. I'm told I am an emergency for an orthopaedic appointment. I have to take tablets for 6 months while my neck is out of place. This is a long wait time and I am an emergency. Another, my son attended the ED at 1 p.m. He had an issue with his testicle. We were told at 8 p.m. that he needed to be kept. We were told that they don't do ultrasounds after 6 p.m. He had to have surgery the next day after his ultrasound. Is now left with one testicle. If we'd been seen earlier with his ultrasound, he may still have two. Okay. Why do doctors have to leave their place of work to show the HSC that we have a bigger population for surgical hub than Sligo? Where's all the politicians that we sent to the Dáil to speak and highlight these things? It is obvious that this is a political decision rather than the HSC. Another, the HSC does what it's told. Donegal's being neglected by government because we don't vote for the government parties. It's obvious, and Highland should acknowledge that fact. Well, the people of Donegal returned 2 Fianna Fáil TDs, and arguably, I would imagine if Joe McHugh had stood again, he probably would have got over the line as well, or likely would have. So I don't know. I think the government should be happy with returning 2. And don't forget there's Fine Gael Senator as well, and others. So I just think the facts maybe contradict what you're saying. But then again, who's to say what goes on in the houses of power? Greg, Tony Canavan is in Galway, is a man with all the answers. Get him on the show. Well, we've asked him as of yet, no answer. And Mr. Canavan is someone that we've spoken to in the past and do continue to lobby to have a word with. But he's just not available or hasn't answered yet. Hi, Greg. In relation, just to be very, very clear, and this is the stuff that goes on in the background, and this is why Caroline is so busy. In a situation like this, everybody is contacted. The health minister is contacted. All 5 TDs are contacted. People within the HSC are contacted. We've been doing this a long time, and I'm not being defensive, but we go after every voice on a situation like this. And generally, if people aren't prepared to come on, I have to say that as well, especially on big issues. It's not to have a go at anyone. It's just that I think it's very important that people of Donegal know who wants to speak publicly on a matter and who doesn't. Hi, Greg. In relation to Letterkenny Surgical Hub snub, doesn't Sligo cover a vastly bigger population than figures outlined on the doctor's letter? The whole of Sligo, South Donegal, Leitrim, Cavan, Roscommon, Mayo. It's not quite like that because you've gone all the way into Mayo. There's a bit of Leitrim there, a bit of Cavan and a bit of Donegal. The figures stack up. Like say for instance, if you're from Ballybofey, you go to Letterkenny. If you're from Donegal Town, maybe Letterkenny. If you're from Lahey, I'd go to Letterkenny. If you're in Ballyshannon, Bundoran, Sligo. It's not really cut and dry. The figures are estimates. It's great to see Donegal's medical community standing up for fair access to healthcare. Letterkenny makes sense as a hub location for the North West. Another, age-old story in Donegal, neglected and ignored. Letterkenny University Hospital, one of the busiest hospitals in the country, but hugely under-resourced. Testimony to our ineffective TDs, particularly Fianna Fáil, a Shambalic HSC and a Deputy Department of Health that only finds out what's happening in the HSC via the media. Yeah. It is interesting, and you know, because when I was interviewing the minister down the road here and put it to her about the surgical hub, I asked the question as if everybody knew the decision had already been made, you know, and she was like, "No, it hasn't. I haven't received the business case yet," which she hasn't. She's not being in any way untruthful in that regard, but your boss should know what decisions you've made, I think, in a timely fashion. Right, Garda Grania and Community Garda Information just around the corner.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 3rd of June. You're playing for the daily prize of €400 on the brown sheet. The reference number is S12. It's game number 23. The numbers are 24, 88, 13, 14, 89, 19, 73, 42, 38, and finally 61. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Books a bit messy? Payroll giving you headaches? Big Red Cloud, in partnership with Donegal Education and Training Board, is offering free online training courses in bookkeeping and payroll. Perfect for small business owners, startups or even accountants looking to support their clients. The courses are flexible, certified and designed for real-world needs. Visit bigredcloud.com/training to sign up. Free, certified and at your own pace. Brought to you by Donegal ETB.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
The Community Garda Information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals. Call Sheridan Security on 91 26025.
16 minutes past 10 on this Tuesday, the 3rd of June 2025. And it's time for our Community Garda Information item. And we have in studio with us Garda Grania Doherty from the Letterkenny Garda Station. Grania, thank you so much as always. I do appreciate you coming up. Right, okay, let's get into some appeals now. And we'll start with an appeal in relation to a fatal road traffic collision in Milford.
Yes, unfortunately, another tragedy on the Donegal roads. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses following a fatal road traffic collision. This occurred on the R245 at Bunland Bridge in Milford on the evening of Friday the 30th of May. The incident involved a car and a van, and it happened at approximately 7:30 p.m. A female driver, aged in her 70s, was pronounced deceased at the scene. The male driver of the van, aged in his 50s, was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. No other injuries were reported. So Gardaí are now appealing for witnesses to this incident to come forward. Any road users who may have camera footage, dash cam, and who are travelling in that area between 7:15 p.m. and 7:45 p.m. on that date, they're asked to make this footage available to investigating Gardaí. Anybody with information are asked to contact Milford Garda Station on 9153060, the Garda Confidential line on 1800 666 111, or any Garda station. And just on behalf of us all at Garda Síochána, I'd like to express our condolences to the family of Susan Hamilton, and we also wish the other driver involved a speedy recovery.
Yes, and same for us as well, Grania. Moving on now to a burglary in Letterkenny at the end of last month.
Yes, this occurred in the area of Old Town Letterkenny on Saturday the 31st of May in and around 10:50 p.m. So entry was gained to a house. It's not believed that any damage was caused in order to gain entry, but damage was caused within. Nothing was stolen from the property. We're appealing to anybody who may have been in that general area with a dash cam between 10:30 p.m. and 11:15 p.m. to make that footage available to us. If anybody observed any suspicious activity or vehicles in that area, we're asking them to contact Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100. And again, this goes for all our appeals. The Garda Confidential line it can be reached on 1800 666 111.
Yeah, because in a case like that, and that's why the CCTV footage stroke dashcam footage is so important. It's you see the movements. Obviously, it's not going to see anyone inside a property, but it might, suspicious activity might be flagged or obvious to an investigating Garda.
Of course, yeah, and look, it's procedural anyway that all CCTV from that area, doorbell cameras, business CCTV is all obtained or sought by Gardaí as part of their investigation. But there are times then when maybe the footage isn't as clear as we would like, so dash cam footage really is invaluable. It could pick up something maybe that was grainy on other footage that we've already obtained.
Yeah, and confirm something that might be already known or open up a new lead or whatever.
Exactly, or can track the movements of any vehicles involved also, yeah.
All right, burglaries now in the south of the county. We'll go to Killybegs first, I think.
Yes, this occurred at a house in the area of Tullid, Killybegs, on Wednesday the 28th of May. And quite a short time frame here for this incident, actually, between 3:20pm and 3:30pm. A rear window of that property was smashed, entry was gained. A bedroom was ransacked within the house. Nothing is believed to have been stolen, and it's very possible that the intruder or intruders were disturbed. We are appealing to anybody who may have been in that area between 3pm and 4pm with a dashcam to make that footage available to us. Should anybody have observed again any suspicious activity, people, vehicles in that area, we're asking them to contact Gardaí in Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
And staying in Ballyshannon, that's the location of the next appeal.
Yeah, an attempted burglary at a business premises, and this occurred in the area of Market Street, Ballyshannon, in the early hours of Thursday the 29th of May, in and around 1:25am. An attempt was made to force open the front door of this premises by three males. They had their hoods up. And we'd like to hear from anybody who may have travelled in any area within Ballyshannon town between 1am and 1:30am who had a dash cam. If anybody can assist this investigation with relevant information, they are asked to contact Ballyshannon Garda Station on 071 985 8530, or again the Garda confidential line.
Now on to criminal damage instances. We'll start in Letterkenny, Grania.
Yeah, this is a very recent one actually. Yeah, this occurred in the Cullion Road in the early hours of Monday the 2nd of June, in and around between midnight and 7:50am. So a parked car at that location was targeted and a number of windows of it were smashed. So we're appealing to anybody who may have observed any type of suspicious activity in the area of the Cullion Road between those times, or anybody who has any relevant information, get in touch with Gardaí in Letterkenny on 9167100.
Criminal damage in Muff.
Yes, this happened during the daytime hours actually, so we're very hopeful somebody may have observed something in connection with this one. This is an incident that happened in the area of Cannings Lane in Muff on Thursday the 29th of May in around 4pm. A car was set alight that location, and a number of youths were observed in the area just before the car went up in flames. So the fire services attended the scene, they extinguished the fire. We're appealing to anybody who has dashcam footage from that area to get in touch with Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540. And again, look, if anybody observed these youths in the area, or if they've any relevant information that might assist us with this investigation, we're asking them to get in touch.
Yeah, feels particularly serious, that one, as they all do, of course, but you know what I mean. Right, so theft next in Burt, Grania.
Yeah, this was a recent incident also. Theft of tools from a builder's yard at Speenogue in Burt. These thefts are believed to have occurred between 6:30pm on Tuesday the 27th of May and 8am the following morning, Wednesday the 28th of May. A number of padlocks on the doors of shipping containers within the builder's yard were broken to gain entry to the containers, and a number of items were stolen, such as a metal chop saw 110 volt, a roll of 4-inch, a roll of 6-inch and a roll of 12-inch lead, a 9-inch Hitachi angle grinder that was also 110 volt, a red heavy-duty Alti power drill, and this is distinctive, this one actually, it has a 2-pronged plug. It's 240 volt, a 4-inch Hitachi angle grinder, 110 volt, 2 4-inch Bosch angle grinders, and 3 yellow 110 volt transformers. We're asking anybody with relevant information to contact Gardaí in Buncrana on 9320540. Should anybody, again, as always, come across these types of tools for sale on a second-hand basis, please alert Gardaí so that we can check the matter out.
Yeah, be vigilant, because it's incredibly unlikely that some person has taken those for their personal use, and they're the tools of someone's livelihood as well, and difficult to replace. So any information to Ongada Síochána. Right, sports equipment stole next in Ardra.
Yeah, this is a rather unusual one. Sports equipment was stolen from a garden shed at a house in the area of Doohill North, Ardra, between 9pm on Thursday the 29th of May and 9:30am on Friday the 30th of May. So the items stolen were a black 3-wheel manual golf buggy and a black Power Caddy electric golf buggy. Now the battery wasn't in the electric buggy when it was stolen. If anybody observed any suspicious activity or vehicles in that area between those times, we're asking them to get in touch with us. Should anybody, again, come across these types of items for sale on a second-hand basis, please alert Gardaí and Ballyshannon on 071 985 8530.
Don't come up for grabs too often, and if they do turn up wherever they might nowadays, they should stick out like a sore thumb. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. Right, now, recent fraud incident in Ballybofey. What's this about, Grania?
Yeah, so this is in relation to a change scam, and we have spoken about change scams before. It's just, look, we want to issue a reminder and as a result of a recent incident that occurred in the Ballybofey area. So a business premises in the Ballybofey area very recently fell victim to this type of scam. It's called a quick change scam. So we want business owners really to speak to their employees just to make them aware of these types of scams and to educate them in relation to them. So a quick change scam is a deceptive tactic. A customer attempts to get more money than what they are owed by causing confusion, with the cashier, and they want them to give them incorrect change, really, is the aim of the game. It often involves paying for a small item with a large amount of money and then using a series of quick hand movements and confusing dialogue to make the cashier believe that they are owed a different amount of change. But in the recent incident in Ballybofey, it took place in a different manner. A few large denomination banknotes were handed over and a request was made for smaller notes to be given in return. Once this was done, a few of the smaller notes were then handed back and a further request was made to change these again into smaller notes, and this would all be done very quickly. The dialogue would happen very quickly. So the end result in this incident in Ballybofey was that confusion was caused. That was their aim, and that happened. Confusion was caused, and as a result, the float was down. They were down money as a result. So change scams are carried out in a very professional way, and the cashier often won't even realise they've been scammed until that float's been counted up later that evening. So these scammers may often target young and more inexperienced employees who may not be as aggressive in managing the confusion of multiple transactions, and sometimes younger or more inexperienced employees, they're more wary maybe of a line of customers building up behind that
get
person.
Flustered and don't want to challenge someone for fear of where that might go.
Yeah, and these scam artists know that. They know who to target. So as a precaution, employers should advise their staff. Really, I suppose the best thing to do is advise them not to carry out these types of transactions.
Mm-hmm. They're only courteous. They're not really necessary.
They're not obligatory. Nobody's obliged to change notes for anybody. Perhaps they could place a sign in a prominent position at the cash register stating that the cashier will not change denominations of notes for anybody, regardless of who they are. This might also take the onus off the cashier. If there's a sign there, it takes the onus off them. Maybe they feel embarrassed. They don't want to offend the customer. If it's a policy in the shop, they can point to the sign and say, I'm sorry, it's shop policy, we can't do it.
Yeah, it's funny because I worked in a bar, I don't know how long ago it is now, a long time ago, and we weren't allowed to open the register unless there was a sale, and it was for this reason. So that's how long these sort of scams have been doing the rounds.
Oh, they haven't popped up today or yesterday, no, certainly not, no. So, look, and sometimes this customer might begin to bully or intimidate the cashier, and then the confusion escalates. So if this happens, the cashier, just take your time. You're the one that's in charge here. Take your time. Make sure that the till is closed and contact the manager. Maybe the manager could speak to the customer then and you can carry on with the rest of the customers. Ask them to stand to one side. But certainly don't feel bullied into completing any transaction for anybody, So I think that's it.
Yeah, and we obviously, it's text scams, email scams, all this kind of stuff, cyber fraud and what have you. And yet sometimes one could forget, a business person could forget that the tried and tested physical ones too can leave you well out of cash.
Yeah, and I think an attempt was made in other businesses within Ballybofey and Stranraer on that same date. This change scam was attempted in those businesses.
And I think you're right with the prominent sign because that, firstly, you can have discretion then if it's people that right? But it also is protection if the teller is uncertain.
Of course, we're not saying don't change notes for everybody. Obviously, if it's somebody that you know and that you trust,
But it supports the staff member, I think, in what you're saying.
It does.
And these people move from one area to another, obviously. I mean, the fact this is not going to happen 4 weeks in a row in Ballybofey, well, I'm not saying it won't, but likely they move on somewhere else. Okay. A caller wanted to know, a car has been parked in the council estate the last 4 years with no NCT or tax or insurance. Can it be removed?
The first thing I would say about this is, has the car, I was reading the question and I was wondering, is it a case that it's being parked there on a daily basis and being moved, or is it there full time? Has it been abandoned?
I bet you it's sitting outside someone's house on a footpath and people feel like it's an eyesore. I'm just guessing.
Well, look, this is a fairly common. This is a common occurrence, but the question really is it abandoned?
Yeah,
and that's the is it abandoned, or is it moved on a regular basis, or But anyway, look, abandoned vehicles. So that's the key word, is abandoned vehicles on public roads or public spaces are dealt with by local authorities. So the council, Donegal County Council, they have the power to remove them. They follow a procedure that usually involves notifying the registered owner, giving them a time frame to remove the vehicle, and then potentially storing it for a period. And if the owner doesn't claim the vehicle within that time frame, it may be disposed of. So in certain instances, the council may not be able to remove the vehicle. So for example, if it's registered, say, to a resident of that estate, then it wouldn't be deemed abandoned because it belongs to a resident in the estate. Or as I said earlier, if it's being moved on a regular basis, then it wouldn't be deemed. So there's some cases in which it can't be deemed abandoned. So sometimes then the council's hands are tied. But and if this should occur, and if the council do say that it hasn't been deemed as abandoned, by all means contact the Gardaí, because we do have the power to seize an uninsured or if it's parked up in a public place, the Gardaí can deal with the matter then.
All right, now another call for the Donegal Youth Awards. This is all about recognising our fantastic young people between the ages of 13 and 21, and applications are open, Grania.
They are. I'm going to leave it brief this week. I'm just going to summarise, So the Donegal Garda Youth Awards, they have been recently launched, celebrating outstanding young people between the ages of 13 and 21 from across the county of Donegal. We, in conjunction with Supermax and the Abbey Hotel, recognise that a lot of good work is being done by young people in every community across Donegal, and we often hear of incidents involving young people on our appeals, and as they say, Mullen Oiga agus Chuckishi, and it's great to see that these awards are brilliant, giving them recognition, and sometimes that recognition gives them the boost that they need. It gives them a great boost, even the fact that they were nominated. Somebody thought to nominate them, So we're urging people, please do, if you can think of a young person who is doing great work or who has done great work, please do. The nomination form isn't that hard to fill in. It's not very long. The nomination form can be got at any Garda station or at www.garda.ie. We have to receive the forms back in Letterkenny Station, and they have to be submitted back to me, Grania Doherty, by 12 p.m. on Wednesday, July 2nd. We have a few nominations in already. I'm delighted this year we're getting them in fairly early. This year we have a few forms returned to us already. So please do. Teachers out there, maybe it's your own child, your own son or daughter that you wish to nominate, or a neighbour's child. Anybody out there, if you see a young person who you think deserves a boost and deserves a wee bit of recognition,
they
stick
don't
the form
have to have climbed the 5 peaks. It's what's important in their life, in their family, in their friends group, in their community, in what they've achieved, what they've overcome. And simply being nominated is a recognition of them too.
It is, of course, yeah. And there will be an awards ceremony later in the year, and you know that because you'll be there emceeing the event. Then all of the winners then at that awards ceremony will be put forward then for nomination to be put forward as part of the national ceremony later on in the year again, near the end of the year.
And there's a lot of, it's not really a lot of info there, but you can just, if you're unsure about any of that and the process, go on to the Facebook page, and the Garda Síochána Facebook page. We'll actually share the post through our pages as well, so people have every opportunity. But already entries coming in, which is fantastic to see. Garda Grania Doherty, thank you very much indeed. Do appreciate your time. That was Community Garda Information for this Tuesday. It's back after the 10 o'clock news next Tuesday, and will be available for you to listen back on our podcast or watch back on our socials and the Garda Síochána socials a little later on today.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Planning holidays, creating memories. Atlantic Travel on Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny bring you today's 9 till noon show. See atlantictravel.ie.
TFI Local Link offers frequent, affordable and sustainable bus services, keeping rural communities in Ireland connected. Save up to 30% on fares when you use your TFI Leap Card on eligible TFI Local Link services. For route and timetable information, visit transportforireland.ie.
New store, new project. Your new B&Q and TradePoint Letterkenny is now open. Dreaming of a garden glow-up? fresh colour for your walls, or a new kitchen. Whatever you need for your next home improvement project, we're here to help at your new B&Q Letterkenny. Find us at Unit 4 Letterkenny Retail Park, Neil T. Blaney Road. We're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday. You can do it when you B&Q it.
Why leave the magic moments and great scenes you've captured sitting on your phone when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using McGee's website or one of their in-store kiosks, you just upload your photos, select the ones you want, and have them printed instantly within an hour, or use the 24-hour service. 35mm and film from disposable cameras also printed, and old photos can be digitally restored. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Don't miss a fantastic evening at Raffo and Ballandred Presbyterian Church Auction and Barbecue. It's happening Friday, June 6th at Raffo Livestock Mart. Family fun and barbecue start at 5 p.m. Auction at 7. Everyone's welcome. Don't miss the fun, food and great bargains. See you Friday, 6th of June at Raffo Mart.
Okay, sorry about that. You're welcome back to the 9 till noon show, and we're going to continue our reflection on the letter issued by 171 medical professionals in this county calling for Letterkenny to be given a surgical hub. Fine Gael Senator Manus Boyle. Manus, are you behind this campaign 100%, and what will you be doing to try and get the Health Minister to, I suppose, send this back to the HSE? She says she hasn't received any information in relation to this at this point. So, as I said before, there is a window of opportunity. What will you be doing in that window?
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to your listeners, and thanks for inviting me on. No, this is, when I was appointed to the Shannon, this is one of the first issues you took up on the 20th of February, if you look back, because I feel it's really important for Donegal to have a surgical hub. And I asked in the Shannon that day that one of the hubs would come to Donegal and come to, and be in the county. So it's one thing that I'm fully behind, and I congratulate the doctors. I was on the Zoom meeting last night. I think everybody's on the same wavelength here. We need this in Donegal, and we want it in Donegal, and we have to do everything that we can to get it in Donegal. Now, I've been on to the Minister's people this morning, and they're saying to me that no business case was put forward yet for a surgical hub in Letterkenny. So until that's done, we just have to.
Well, they're not going to receive one. They're not going to receive one for Letterkenny. They're going to receive one from Sligo. Are you going to impress on her office that needs to be reviewed? And I think it would be very useful as well for the HSE to explain the decision-making process. I think that would be very good for the Minister going forward with various decisions. If the business case argument, if that was scrutinised and stood over.
Well, that's one of the things I asked her people this morning. Could we have a review of the business case? Because, I mean, to me, it doesn't make much sense on population. We're way ahead of Sligo, and no fault to Sligo. I hope they get one too. But, I mean, Donegal, we have 160,000 people here. I think we're well entitled. And, I mean, it's one of the things that can be up and running within 2.5-3 years. And we really need it, Greg, being honest about, listen, anything that we can add value to Letterkenny General Hospital, it needs to come to Donegal, and that's my line on it, to be honest.
Senator, thank you. Minister of State Ronald McDonald released a statement to us. I've made it clear to the HSE that Donegal must have a surgical hub and that nothing less will be acceptable. All Donegal public reps are united on this and met recently with HSE regional management, who agreed at the meeting to review their decision. And the HSE will be meeting again with Donegal public reps in the next 2 weeks when they have completed this review. No plan has gone from the HSE to the Department of Health or the Minister for Health at this point, and all are focused on ensuring that the plan that goes to the Minister clearly puts the case and necessity for a surgical hub in Letterkenny. I'm also working at political level in government to ensure that any final decision at the end of this process by the Department of Health and Minister, the Department of Health and that he's going to ensure that any final decision at the end of this process by the Department of Health and the Minister ensures a surgical hub is delivered for Letterkenny. Councillor Declan Meehan, there is political unity, it seems, on this matter, and that is crucial. Surely that can't be ignored.
No, and look at Greg, I think that
it's incredibly important, and we can't underestimate or undervalue the fact that all political representatives in County Donegal are singing from the same hymn sheet on this, because they realise that when doctors stage an intervention like this in the unprecedented numbers that they have done, that it's a wake-up call, and it's something that we need to listen to. We need to support them and work with them to get what's right for Donegal. And really, really what's important here, Greg, is that the politicians remain united on this, and we cannot be fobbed off with this idea of an ambulatory care centre as something that is better than and something as an alternative to a surgical hub. Because we know that, and it was put very, I think, aptly last night by one of the consultants at a meeting, that is basically nothing but a notion and nothing but a box on a piece of paper currently in someone's office, whereas a surgical hub is a ready-to-go facility that is ring-fenced with funding. And that's what we need, is something that is deliverable in the short term, not something that absolutely the hospital needs, but that we potentially will never see. And you can take the 2013 announcement of the endoscopy centre in LUH as an example of that, with funding. It never made it into an HSE capital programme. It never made it into a plan. It has never been delivered.
And there's no commitment from the HSE on this ambulatory centre as well. Something that jumps at me from Minister of State McConaughey's statement is that the HSE locally have agreed to review the decision to recommend Sligo as a hub. So is that your understanding, and how significant is that? As I say, I wasn't aware that they had said they would review their selection.
Yeah, so the Oireachtas members and the councillors who are on the Regional Health Forum, along with consultants from the hospital, met with HSE management, including Sean Murphy and Tony Canavan, and this was raised. And look, in that meeting, again, all politicians were very forthright in saying that this was not good enough, that Letterkenny was going to be overlooked in the selection process for a surgical hub in the Northwest. And they did say that they would go back and look at that. Now, since then, Greg, my concern is, and it's a concern shared by the public reps, is that they have started promoting this idea of an ambulatory care centre.
Well, that's what I don't understand. And that came up at the recent Regional Health Forum. Is that subsequent to Tony Canavan committing to review this decision? Because if that is... We just have to be very clear. You have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility, and the Minister has a responsibility, that we aren't giving the public wrong information here. So really, and none of us would do that purposefully, right? But my point is you're quite right. They seem to be trying to sell the ambulatory centre for Letterkenny as better than a surgical hub, or are they reviewing the surgical hub decision?
Well, what they told us was that they were going to review that, and that they would also try and put forward Letterkenny as an option for it. And that is what we're asking for. If you're only putting forward one business case, one business plan for a surgical hub, then the Minister cannot make an informed decision. 171 doctors have now intervened to ensure that the Minister does have the information to make that decision on an informed basis, because they dispute the HSEs and Tony Canavan specifically reasoning and logic for selecting Sligo for that. Are they actually reviewing that? I think we need to have confirmation on that, because I do see, and I'm worried that what they have done since that meeting is, I suppose, kitefly this idea of an ambulatory care centre as an alternative to it. But it's not something that the 171 doctors at LUH and GPs in Donegal are happy with, and they don't want to see that being kite flown, and they don't want to see Letterkenny being overlooked.
Is there any plans for a similar letter from the 37 councillors to go to the Minister for Health, just so that's on the record, or maybe that's already happened by way of a motion? Pardon my ignorance.
No, it hasn't happened yet, but it's certainly something that I would be supportive of.
I mean, it really is critical at this point that
absolutely
that every political rep gets in behind the majority of medical professionals at this time. Another angle on this that can't be ignored.
Definitely. And I think that, look at Greg, I was on that meeting last night as well with my colleagues from the Regional Health Forum and the Oireachtas members with these doctors who are taking this initiative. And I think that we need to capitalise on the unity that's there across the political spectrum, if you like, people from all political parties and none. And I do think that something like that would be very, very useful to show the political backing there. But we need to agree on a language where we need to agree that we're not going to be sold a pup. We're not going to be fobbed off with this idea of an ambulatory care centre. We have to listen to our doctors.
Just endorse,
that is the number one thing here.
Just endorse their concerns. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And everyone, 37 odd, be signatories to that. It's critical. All right, thanks very much indeed, Councillor Declan Meehan. Deputy Pearse Doherty, thanks for joining us on this. You're amongst, I think, every politician united on this issue. Where do we go from here? Because the Minister might feel somewhat insulated by this, in that Minister Charlie McConalogue says the HSE regionally or locally are going to review this decision. She has yet to receive a business case. What do you want her to do now? Wait and see or intervene?
Yeah, well, thanks, Greg, for having me on. And I know you've had Poethic on a few times discussing this issue. Look, I think, first of all, the intervention here by 171 clinicians, GPs, consultants is unprecedented. And, anybody that doesn't recognise that, in government levels or at senior levels of the HSE would really need to get their head out of the sand. These are people who aren't just turning up for work. They know the consequences of not having a surgical hub here in this hospital and what it'll mean for patients. And it is dire. And I'm really glad that they've come out and said this, because if we come out and said that this would result in the loss of our A&E, the loss of our maternity services, people dying, we would be accused of scaremongering. These are people who every day of the week turn up to work to save people's lives, and that's what they're telling us, plain and simple. And really, this is now moved into a situation where it's a must need. So where does it go from here? It's moving away from the HSE into the political sphere. When myself and Poethic raised this earlier this month with the Minister for Health in the Dáil, the answer was basically that HSE West were putting the proposal at a national level, that the board was supposed to consider this at a national level before the end of last month. We haven't got confirmation if that actually happened, but that was the plan. And then the department would receive it shortly afterwards. Now, I know as far as my inquiries are that the department still haven't received it as of today, but that could change tomorrow. So it is now moved into, it's likely moving into the political sphere. So yeah, look, we've had a very strong run, I think, as you've heard, in relation to the HSE management. I said to the consultants and GPs that I met with again last night that in my time in politics, I haven't seen, and it was great to see a united front from all of the Oireachtas members as forcibly as we had in some of those meetings with the HSE. We asked them to review the case. They were going to review it, but in my view, it was always kind of saying we were going to put the needs of Letterkenny forward, and the needs of Letterkenny was this ambulatory hub, which is fictional at this point in time and a distant reality.
It would make you wonder that, given the seriousness of the situation that we find ourselves in, who thought it was a good idea to bring this ambulatory hub to the party, if you know what I mean, given the fact that we have such great concern in the medical community and for the need for a surgical hub, that to sort of propose something that literally is just almost like a sketch in a frame on a wall somewhere as some sort of a solution, when lives are on the lines here, careers are on the lines, in terms of whether they're continued in Donegal. It would make me wonder, whoever thought that was a good idea to float that at the Regional Health Forum meeting, given the dire situation we're in, their thought processes on this.
Yeah, look, to use your own phrase, the ambulatory hub was brought to the party over 10 years ago, as we heard from Anya Keaton. In fairness to the general manager, he wants to see an ambulatory hub. We all want to see an ambulatory hub. It will be, beneficial to cancer patients and diagnostics and others. It isn't going to distract us from the fact that there's a surgical hub on the table at this point in time. There's funding for it. It's been approved at national level. There's resources that follow it. There's staffing that follow it. And if Letterkenny doesn't get it, if Letterkenny doesn't get it, we could lose our A&E, we could lose our maternity services, and we could lose the lives of people in this county. That is not me talking. That is what the clinicians have been telling us over a series of meetings now, and it is as dire as that. So look, we've tried to impress on Tony Canavan. Like, all of the arguments that you've heard this morning rehearsed, some of them I argued myself. There is nowhere, like, I want to see, I think, Greg, me and you spoke about this a couple of months ago. I want to see 2 surgical hubs in Donegal. That's my, I'm a national politician, but I'm a Donegal person, first and foremost, and that's it. And even if you take away that and you look at a plan and you look and say you were doing something in the Northwest and there was only one, where would it go? It would be in Letterkenny. That's the reality. They're the points I made to Tony Canavan. You cannot travel further than an hour and a half from Letterkenny anywhere in the Northwest region, whereas if it's in Sligo, people in Creasla and elsewhere will be travelling over 2 hours. Never mind the talk about Ironmore and Tory and people like that there. Also the population, also the clinical need. It all points in relation to the fact that we need Letterkenny, but I don't want to pit one against the other. That is why I really, really support the initiative, and so does Poidic McLaughlin in terms of, and indeed does the other Oireachtas members. It's not for me to speak to them, but they made their voices clear in relation to the private meetings that this is what we need. So it is going to move. If the HSE at board level hasn't stopped this and reviewed this decision, it's now going to move into the political sphere, and that's why the minister absolutely needs to meet with the clinicians, absolutely needs to stall this any decision making, and just look at the evidence. And look, myself and Poidic have put forward a topical issue, so we'll hopefully hear that next week, because now the argument from the minister as, oh, I don't have a business plan, I've not, that is now actually removed because it's now moving into the department's decision-making process.
And outside of the defective concrete block issue, I was trying to frame this for listeners. This is the biggest issue. This is massive. And I think that's why there's been such a strong leadership from the doctors, and there's been unity in the political sphere as well. This affects all of us, if not now, into the future, if not ourselves directly, our grannies and granddads, our daughters, our sons, someone involved in a road traffic collision, someone who has a crisis in their pregnancy. This is as big as it gets in my view, Piers. I don't think I'm overstating it, but it is something that can be a victory here if the health minister sees sense.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, and there can be a victory. And look, you talked earlier on about the costs of these here in the tens of millions. Like, that isn't the issue here, obviously it's important to raise that point. Like, we're going to record a surplus this year of 8,000 million euro, like 8 billion euro of a surplus. That's money that we're not going to spend, and we're going to do the same next year. Like, this is a drop in the ocean, and it's so crucial. Like, if an announcement was read out on Highland Radio tomorrow morning that our A&E is gone, every single person in Donegal would take notice and would be absolutely appalled. If the announcement followed the next day that our maternity services are gone, that no more children can be born there, because you can't have maternity services unless you have surgeons, because you have crisis pregnancies and all of that. If that were to be announced, then there would be an uproar. That is what is in threat here.
The stakes are so high. Yeah, the stakes are really, really high.
And outside of the surgical hub, see, we have got a major crisis in Letterkenny General Hospital. I know the managers and others won't want us to use that language and talking down the hospital and all the rest. Listen, we are talking to the clinicians, they have no axe to grind here. They get on with their work. They turn up and all the rest, but they're telling us that we are under serious threat at this point in time because of the lack of surgeons we have in the hospital, because of the rota that people are going way beyond the call of duty in relation to keeping services open in that hospital. See if we do not get a surgical hub, and that surgical hub goes somewhere else, which is a draw factor away from Letterkenny, then there is serious problems. So this is not scaremongering. This is an appeal to everybody in Donegal. We, as your elected representatives, I have a job to do, Poidic's a job to do, those who support government parties have a job to do, the clinicians have stepped up, fair play to them. We also now need the whole public, and I'm begging and appealing to people, get on the calls, send your emails to the Minister for Health, and because I'll tell you something, it could be the best 2 minutes that you've ever spent, if not for yourself or for your kids, maybe.
And I'll tell you why that's also important, with no disrespect to the Minister. When she came up here, I think, she's she can only be told what she's told by reps locally, and everything was rosy in the garden, if you know what I mean. And I don't think, and she will find out what we're talking about here, and it's very important that she knows the facts. And just one other thing, you know, not every member of staff likes us discussing this stuff on the radio, but we do this in support of them as much as in support of the public as well, that they have a vibrant, busy, but workable space that they can get on with their jobs and not be overstretched and not feel the need that they need to move somewhere else to do the life-saving work that they do. For now, Deputy Pierce Doherty, thank you very much indeed. I do appreciate your time. All right, let's take a break.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
Want a new Kia? Call to Heron Auto Donegal to arrange your test drive on our 252 Kia range, where quality customer care comes first. We have 0% finance available on all EV models. Visit Heron Auto on the Killybegs Road to test drive and order your 252 Kia and receive a €500 Super Value gift card. Drive with confidence. Drive with Heron Auto.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles, wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
Who's watching your home while you're asleep, at work or on holiday? With the Sheridan Security Alarm System, you can be assured of round-the-clock monitoring. Our central monitoring station is on duty 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, monitoring homes and businesses in the northwest for intruder, fire, panic and medical signals, giving you the peace of mind you deserve. Sheridan Security Systems, Bonagee, Letterkenny, protecting what you value most. Call us for a free quotation on 91-26025.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, I'll get you that weather forecast really soon. I'll just have to open it up here because we're moving things around to accommodate our guests in the next hour. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApp and text. Feel free to get in touch with us today. Will be breezy with scattered showers and some sunny spells. Highest temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees with a moderate to fresh and gusty southwest to west breeze. Right. The caller makes an important point here. That time could be of the essence. The Dáil will be in recess in 7 weeks and the delay tactics of HSE and government will continue. It's not good enough, they say. Surely every hospital campaign group and indeed every single one of us, people of Donegal, will get behind the doctors, call and bombard the minister and all government with letters, email, phone calls to get what's necessary for our hospital. Just in relation to hospital campaign groups, often it's one person. You know, I mean, I'm not saying they do all of the stuff themselves, but Rosina Toner is a person, you know, on her own cancer journey. And she's one of the strongest voices. Betty Holmes of DACC. Betty's flat out in emails and phone calls and haranguing to try. But Betty's Betty. You know, I mean, I'm not saying she's on her own, but DACC is a person and a few others. CCCNW, etc., etc. You know, these people need support because they're just, a lot of them, they're lone soldiers, so to speak. So the campaigners, the campaign groups, they need your support as well. And I'll tell you, if you support them, they'll get you out in the street. It's not political, it'll not be nothing like that. They'll get you out. But just to factor in that they are just themselves often. And a few others supporting them. Listen, hundreds of comments in. I'll get to some of those after I take a break for the news.
Planning holidays, creating memories. Atlantic Travel on Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny bring you today's 9 till noon show. See atlantictravel.ie.
It's the 2025 World Chip Sizzle Freestyle Contest and Charlie's Chips are in the lead again. They're coming up to the finishing pan and Charlie's Chips are the 2025 World Champions. Sourced locally, hand-cut and freshly cooked. Served with mouth-watering burgers, fresh battered fish or delicious chicken. Open Tuesday to Saturday 12 to 8 and every Friday for breakfast from 9. Take away or sit in. When the hunger hits, Pull into Charlie's on Pierce Road, Letterkenny.
Tá má tuirt ara do am le rionsá bliantanis. Ten cuasaí sa bhuileann orm orintí. Bíonn sé deach orm am áilecham hain. Bhí orm aireas ma fost fiúhan.
Tá obair na gabal genta agat ag tuairt córam do dhaoine eile. Anois is méid don finsin stáit obair do hon. Má tá 5 bliain nó níos mó caite agat ag tuairt ara do dhaoine muintere nach ran an ara hort dóibh féin. Is féidir leat an tam córam sin na úsáid anois, chun cáiliú le haid pension stáit raníciach. Tá feimig teirmí agus conílacha. Fáid tuile ólis gov.ie/pension. Tionscanmh do chuid rialtas na hÉireann or na hort thugad ag an Ryan Cuimarcha Sóisialaí.
T-Shirt Express has moved. You'll now find us beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny. We're still your go-to spot for custom T-shirts, workwear, gifts and balloons. Just in a fresh new location. You can still reach us on the same number, 086 343 3504. T-Shirt Express, now beside C&M Embroidery, Lismonaghan, Letterkenny.
Charge into summer with TUI. Choose from a beach cruise or city break or Mexico flying direct from Dublin. Holiday sorted. TUI, live happy.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
All right, as I say, dozens and dozens and dozens of you texting in on the hospital issue. I'll get to some of those and some other very important matters in the next hour. Please don't go anywhere. We've got 3 very interesting people in studio to talk about a very important topic. But first at 11 o'clock, let's get a news update. Good morning again, Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí have renewed their appeal for witnesses following a fatal crash in Milford on Friday evening. 72-year-old Susan Hamilton died following the collision involving a car and a van at Bunlin Bridge at around 7:30. A man in his 50s, the driver of the van, was taken to Letterkenny University Hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening injuries. The campaign to secure a surgical hub for Donegal is heating up. A group of 171 doctors have written to Health Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeil demanding a meeting to address what they describe as a critical threat to patient care and health equality in the Northwest. Last month, it emerged Sligo University Hospital was put forward as the preferred location for a surgical hub. The group are also appealing for a moratorium on any final decisions regarding the surgical hub's location until a fair evidence-based comparison is completed and for an independent review of the HSE's rationale for selecting Sligo over Letterkenny. Well, Letterkenny University Hospital is the 3rd most overcrowded hospital in the country today. 26 people are currently waiting on a bed at the hospital. According to the INMO, 10 of those patients are on a trolley in the hospital's emergency department, while a further 16 are on wards elsewhere in the hospital. 2 people have died following a house fire in County Galway. The alarm was raised in the Glennick Murren area of Connemara shortly after 6 o'clock this morning. A technical examination of the scene is due to be carried out. Psychology waiting lists of over a year for children in Donegal have more than halved. 86 under-18s were waiting over 12 months to be seen by a psychologist in the county in October 2021. Figures from the Irish Independent show that the number dropped 58% to 28 in December of last year. Gardaí are seeking 3 men in connection with an attempted burglary at a business premises in Ballyshannon. At around 1:25 on Thursday morning last, an attempt was made to force open the front door of the premises on Market Street by 3 men who wore their hoods up. Meanwhile, Gardaí believe a number of intruders were disturbed during a break-in in Killybegs last week. On Wednesday afternoon, between 20 past and 3:30, entry was gained to a property in the Tullet area through a rear window. A bedroom within the house was ransacked, but Gardaí say nothing is believed to have been stolen. And Gardaí in Donegal are warning business owners of a quick change scam doing the rounds. It's after a business in the Ballybuffet area was recently targeted. The scam is described as a deceptive tactic where a customer attempts to get more money than they are owed by confusing a cashier into giving them incorrect change, and often involves the scammer paying for a small item with a large amount of cash. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12.
Thanks so much, Michaela. And we'll be back with more after this short break.
You never know when barbecue weather will arrive. Or leave. But with Aldi's 100% Irish Board Bia quality assured barbecue range, you can be ready at a moment's notice. Like lean beef burgers, basted pork loin chops, and marinated chicken fillet kebabs. All for only $2.99 per pack. So go on, get summer started. Good food, good mood from Aldi, while stocks last.
Caller says, typical politicians in Donegal, let's see their real power now if they can reverse this decision. Fine Gael lost their Dáil seat in Donegal because of their inability to deliver, believes this listener. Fianna Fáil got 2 seats. How? I'm unsure, considering they've consistently failed the people of Donegal. Well, look, I mean, the politicians will do their bit and they're united on that, and I think that's very important. But it is the medical professionals that are driving this, really, to come together in such numbers and to lay out the situation as stark as they have. There's no politician that could actually ignore it. And yes, they can keep the pressure on at a political level. And yes, honestly, I do believe that this campaign will be successful. Not to discourage anyone from campaigning for it. I just, in fact, I shouldn't even be saying that. Email the health minister. You don't have to be Wordsworth or Shakespeare. Email the health minister and say, we need a hub in Donegal. Please, please, please have a look at this decision. Simple as that. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. But in terms of party political situations, it's kind of parked at this stage because we're all pulling in the one direction. Make no mistake, Greg, Celta is the problem. A Connacht-based outfit will give nothing to Donegal. If we don't see this, we will get nowhere. Thanks, James. Morning, Greg. Charlie McConaughey won't come on and chat about the hospital, but he'll go to Bonnegue United reunion on Saturday night as a guest speaker. Listen, personally, it's up to Charlie McConaughey what he does. He's issued a statement. He's fully behind this campaign. It's obvious, we know at this point, that Charlie has an issue with me in terms of coming on the programme. He believes that I am not balanced, that I'm anti-government. That's up to him. From my perspective, the door's always open because personally, I'm a nobody. Literally, I'm no one. And these issues are bigger than any individual or anyone's feelings, I think, personally. But that's just my perspective. I respect Charlie McConaughey, his decision. That's up to him. But there's nothing more I can do. There's nothing more I can do. And my record, hopefully, given the fact that I can speak to absolutely every other politician, Taoiseach, Tánaiste, the health minister, Minister for Fisheries, everyone. I can speak to absolutely everyone and no issues. So I'm not going to be labelled as something I'm not either. But anyway, as I say, that's irrelevant because the big issue is the people of Donegal and their well-being, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care about myself or my career. Greg, you've got a far-reaching platform. Keep using it. Fair play to you. If it weren't for your show, we'd hear nothing of what's going on. That's against the people of Donegal. The papers and the websites do a good job too, but I appreciate your comments, Mary. Another situation where statistics are massaged to make them lie. Well done, Greg and the doctors, as this would be another terrible issue that would slip under the radar. This issue, a lack of services now and even less effective services in the future, will affect the whole population of Donegal, even the wealthy. Everyone in Donegal should join a campaign to ensure the county gets decent health services and support the doctors. We need to meet with Minister now, not next month. Okay, Donegal needs both hubs and ambulatory for the best, or the best of both, to catch up on services throughout other parts of Ireland. The ambulatory idea is just to fob Donegal off, as usual, another mean government bluff. Well, we're not going to be fobbed off if that's what it is. I think we can say that with confidence. Greg, why are the people not out in their thousands fighting for this hub in Letterkenny University Hospital? We've no politicians to do it for us, so it's up to all of us. That comes in from Ava. Ava, there might become a time in the next few weeks that the people of Donegal might be called to come out onto the streets if this political campaign and the doctors' campaign is not effective. Maybe someone wants to organise something for a day, one weekend, just to ram home the message. But there is a process ongoing at the moment. Maybe a public protest might help. Maybe the time for that might come. If anyone else was to behave like politicians, their name would be blackened all over the country. Politicians come around looking for votes and they say they lie through their teeth. And when they get into government, they just lay back and laugh at the silly people that believed them. So the people have no one to blame but themselves. Greg, where are all Donegal's county councillors? Have they got no tongue to speak up for our county? Well, listen, all of them can't come on. Again, I find myself often sort of coming as if I'm defending councillors. the TDs are running with this ball. Some of the councillors are very, I think all of them agree that this is unacceptable. I think I can speak for all of them. I don't think I'd be out of place in doing so. Regarding the hospital decision, has anyone asked what is in this deal for Marion Harkin? Did she have a big impact into the deal with the Michael Lowry party? I was astonished to hear that government representatives didn't bother turning up to meet the minister when she visited Letterkenny General Hospital. Were they afraid that they would have to ask awkward questions on behalf of the people they represent? I will not vote for any of these people again, as they failed to represent me. Have you, Greg, asked any of them to give a reason for their absence? Of course I did. In fact, on the day we did. One was away. Sinn Féin decided not to. And another couple agreed that it would just be a photo shoot and would serve no purpose. That's what we do here. We hold people to account and we ask the tough questions. And at that time, that's one of the elements of that story that we covered. Right. As I say, still so many messages. We'll get to them as the hour wears on.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Today's 9 till Noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
Don't miss the 23rd Annual Vintage Show this Sunday at the Carrickfield, Moville. All the usual attractions, cars, tractors and steam engines, plus craft tent, trade stands, wacky lawnmower racing and the hilarious pot gene makers. Plus Ireland's top children's entertainer, Billy Bubbles. Lots to see and do with threshing demo, fun fair, cash prize competitions and lots more. A fun day for all the family. This Sunday at the Carrickfield, Moville.
You know that guy I've been seeing? Yeah? Turns out my sister's been seeing him too. Oh, really? And I heard he's been seeing Siobhan at number 56. And Declan. Your brother? Yep.
Specsavers opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
I've got something to tell you. I've got half an hour with him this afternoon.
Specsavers, your care is our business.
Celebrate summer this week at Centra with their amazing summer sizzler offers. Like selected barbecue meats, any 3 for €10. Buy 1 Dorito sharing bag and 1 Pepsi 2-litre bottle for €4 plus deposit. And selected Centra berries and grapes, any 2 for €5.50. Centra. Live every day.
Celebrate your love at the award-winning Villa Rose Hotel and Spa Ballybuffet. The elegant Capri Suite hosts up to 300 guests with a private garden and romantic stone cottage for unforgettable wedding photos. Experience exceptional service that turns your dream wedding into reality. Visit villarose.ie to start planning.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is...
It is 11:11. Welcome back to the programme. Right, we're talking about a golf classic. It's the Ronald McDonald House Golf Classic, sponsored by iMotors, it has to be said. It's at the beautiful Dunfanaghy Golf Club, taking place on Friday the 4th of June, and it is for a very important cause. We're joined by Sean Quinn, CEO of Highland Radio, to discuss this. Good morning, Sean. Thanks for your time.
Morning, Greg.
Gareth Nee. Good morning to you, Gareth.
Morning, Greg.
And also we have Victor Burns, training manager at McDonald's in Letterkenny. How are you getting on, Victor?
Not too bad, Greg. Good morning.
Gareth, I'll start with you if that's okay, because you know firsthand how important the Ronald McDonald House is, and it's to do with the care of Noah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what difference it has made to your family.
I suppose, excuse me, when you go down there to the Crumlin, it's a very stressful, emotional time, and you go down there and you go over to the Ronald McDonald House, and it's just, I suppose, home from home. It really is a kind of escapism from the stresses of the hospital. And the staff there are absolutely amazing. You get, your meals each day. The kids can come and stay over at times. They loved it, actually. It's one of their favourite memories of there. And actually our kids were quite protected from it, from all the kind of medical things of Noah in the heart ward.
Because everything was thrust on you, even, when Noah was born, learning that he had health complications and then being told, right, he's going to have to go to Crumlin for this. And then, uprooting the family and trying to keep some sense of normality. There's no time to process that. It's all coming at you thick and fast. And then up steps a facility like this that sort of distracts a little bit from stuff that you don't need to be worrying about.
Yeah, because before this, obviously, we had no idea about this. And as one of the nurses had told us, before the Ronald McDonald House, parents had nowhere to stay, so, having to maybe stay in a hotel for months on end. Because we had 3 long stays over a period of 3-4 years. But to be able to stay on the same grounds of the hospital, on the same site, 3-minute walk away, as I say, you're at the heart ward and it's extremely stressful and emotional and worrying. But then you walk over to the Ronald McDonald House and you see Joe and Jenny, and to name a few, and their staff are there. The camaraderie is quite, helpful, so...
Yeah. And you need to be strong because, you have to be there for Noah, and so you have to have an opportunity to not travel a great distance, not go into a sort of a heartless hotel. I don't mean that badly, but you know what I mean. But also allow yourself to process what you've gone through that day, to give the other kids, when that's applicable, a little bit of normality.
Yeah, because when we go back to the Ronald McDonald House, and maybe the kids come over to visit us, for a while, for years, and maybe the odd time stay overnight. There's a nice wee play area. There's TV, and there's wee PlayStation things, and the library there. And it is, as I say, it shelters our kids totally, because they never had to face that sort of ICU kind of thing, thank God. And it was just, as I say, a home from home, and it was just so comforting, and the food was prepared, and we had no worries like that. There was somebody to rest because you're exhausted by the end of the day, or myself, my wife Natty were taking shifts, going over to the ICU and sitting with Noah for hours on end. But to go back over the Ronald McDonald House, to see Joe and to see Jenny and the Rachel and a few others, and there was just they were so lovely, the staff, that they could never do enough for you. And just the comfort of it, and to have your own room and to be able to rest and recuperate, it was very, very important to us.
And I think really the greatest endorsement you could get with everything you were going through, that there's happy memories associated with staying there. It almost seems impossible, doesn't it?
It's a very strange
what you
one,
were going through. But I think that must point to the homely feeling, or the staff, or it's an interesting one.
As you mentioned yourself, we're not staying in a hotel, never mind the financial burden, which would be exceptional, but it was a real home from home, and it was a 3-minute walk, and just that smile, welcome from Joe and the rest of them, was just amazing. And it was just, you could go over there and relax, as best you could,
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's to just try and I think the thing too with things like the Ronald McDonald House, and there's other things too, like blood bikes and stuff. We kind of know they're there, but we don't necessarily know what they do. Really, the ins and outs of it. You know what I mean? You'd be familiar with it. But then there comes a point, and we hope no one ever has to, but unfortunately we know it will. Then there comes a point that they become so important because you understand what they do.
Actually, just when I was chatting to Victor there before we came on air there, we're just saying, we know all about these charities around the country and what they do, cancer and Alzheimer's and stuff. But when you become immersed and when you become involved in one, it's only really then when you truly see the work they do and stuff, because when I was outside to Crumlin Hospital, and you see the cars passing, the buses passing, people walking past. But when you walk into the children's hospital, and it just shows you all the kids, and all the circumstances they have, and the families that are coping with all that there. And thank God for the Ronald McDonald House, because it is an absolute godsend.
Victor Burns, training manager at McDonald's Letterkenny. Talk to me a bit more about Ronald McDonald's House. What's its tie-in with McDonald's? Because again, because obviously, only when fundraising, McDonald's don't necessarily market their involvement in this for clout, right? So it's kind of some might say it's a strange sort of a marriage, but it works so well. So talk to me a little bit about the history.
Well, the history is last year worldwide it's celebrated 50 years. I've been involved. It started out in the States, and in Ireland it was actually 20 years. Since they opened the house up in Crumlin. I suppose to say that the marriage is it was people saw this, that families needed support, and we're better than get it from from McDonald's. So then the house was developed, and and you like people said, Garrett as well. We were speaking about. Said to me, he says, "What? Because why do I get involved behind it? Because I see what it does for families. Especially people like Garrett. And there's other families that I know in Donegal that I've met, in the restaurant here also, but also we've been in the house once or twice, and the way it's done is McDonald's. It's done separate to it. There's it started off obviously back in the day. You just have boxes around the place, and we'd run different fundraising events, in house in the restaurant, and then it's obviously developed in that, with the internet and that. So there's different ways. When people are ordering now in the restaurant, they have a chance to top up their payment with that little bit of donation. Every bit of money that goes in, goes to the house and to work with the facilities that are there, and like Garrett says, like providing that safety and home away from home, so people feel secure, and I know most of the staff up there, in the house, and one thing I'll say, people talk about it, about them, talking to families that have used it, that they get, they get that comfort, and it's obvious that we have to fundraise for stuff and that, and we continue to do it, the McDonald's franchisees are 100% behind it and are always pushing it and helping what we can do, and we have different campaigns that are run.
Yeah, and of course, the further you move away from Dublin, the more important things like Ronald McDonald House is. And I suppose within the company then that gets a buy-in into this, Victor, staff start, if they don't already know, start to really understand the kind of work that it does and the importance of the donations, and maybe get involved in events over the course of the year.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like, and there's every store does something different, and around Ireland there's different things happen. But McDonald's themselves, have five major fundraising events like that they hold, like, But also, if you put the numbers into perspective, over 5,000 families have been helped throughout Ireland. With over nearly 400 now from the Donegal region, or even in the northwest, it's nearly 600. That families that have had the benefit of the house, like to use it. So if you put that into the numbers, that they go down there and they don't have that, and then, as I said, with the fundraising, the five major events is one of the biggest ones that they have. Is obviously they have an annual ball every year in Dublin, and they're involved in different running events, like between the Dublin Marathon, Cork City Marathon, to just the previous bank holiday weekend. They do annually. We do a golf classic up in Dublin anyway in September, so people who take part in this golf classic have the opportunity now, if they win, to get a place in that, and to see more at hand. Like,
so this is actually almost a qualifying event,
yes.
as well.
Well, that's it. Yes,
as well as a fundraiser.
Yeah. So there's a bit.
I'm sitting here. Why do you think I'm sitting here?
So that's it.
Well, it's the closest you'll get to the yeah. So.
Yeah, and then the biggest campaign that they do every year around Christmas time is it's a Santa hat campaign.
Yeah,
and really that's a biggie, and we get
that's
involved, and it just gets that that fun atmosphere to what people want. Like,
Gareth, do you play golf?
I couldn't swim.
I was going to say, you look too cool for golf. You know what I mean? Well, all I can hear is the rattling of that sexy leather jacket.
No.
Have you any WD-40 on you? Right, okay. And just before I bring in Sean, lots of people asking, how's Noah? I didn't ask how Noah is.
Do you know, Noah's doing great now. He's 7. He's in senior infants up in Lurgy Bragg School. They're amazing with him too. Like, they have a great understanding with him. But he's brilliant. He's... It's funny because, the doctors always tell us about, this and that to keep him okay, like, but he's a bit of a hitter, like, so he's a bit of an oxymoron, like, we're trying to keep him calm all the time, but, energy-wise, sometimes, there's lots of that wee side effects with him, but,
From where you were.
From where, he's a walking miracle, because a couple of them surgeries were touch and go, like, they were open heart surgeries.
Because he's such a wee thing at that stage.
Yeah, the first one was when he was 5 days old.
The wee dolt.
Heart was the size of a strawberry.
Yeah. Strawberry,
and
look at him now.
Yeah. So he's doing amazing.
It's amazing
stuff. He's a miracle.
Brilliant stuff. And you know what? A testament to our brilliant health professionals as well. It's so many layers come together, right? Sean, the Ronald McDonald House Golf Classic. iMotor's on board. Fair play to Seamus and the crew. It's at Dunfanaghy Golf Club on Friday, the 4th of July. And no better way to raise money than have a bit of fun, a bit of competition as well. It's a
Absolutely.
no-brainer, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Victor came to me a couple of months ago and said, would I be interested? And obviously I know the backstory of what the house does for people. So it was a no-brainer for us. I think it's a great thing to be associated with. Obviously, I've got a golf background as well, so I have a key interest in it, and I suppose I can help.
What do you mean you have a golf background?
Well, I play golf most weekends. So.
You made it sound like you used to be Rory McIlroy.
Well, every weekend.
I've got a golf background.
In fairness, every weekend I think I'm Rory McIlroy, going down in the car.
I've heard things being massaged in my time, right? But a 12 handicapper.
No, 10 actually. 10.
A double-digit handicapper saying, I've got a background in golf. You're good. But anyway,
I'd try that one.
No, I've got a background in horse jumping as well.
Yeah.
I used to ride a horse.
I must buy you a horse now.
But anyway, come here. Do you know what the thing about this, and you'll get to this in a second, Sean, and it's great that we're coming on board, is that, you know, if you add up things like food and tea fees and stuff, green fees, right? You know, you actually get better. You get better value taking part in a fantastic event like this than if you were to go out and do it, you know, as a group on your own. So it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And like we had one yesterday and we played, and it's great crack. It's brilliant crack. It's competitive because we're all competitive and we want to win. But what we're looking for is we want as many teams as possible.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to come on today is our reach is right across the Northwest. And I'm reaching out to people to say, come and join us on the day, because it makes a massive difference, not only from the golfing perspective, but also the raffle that'll be in the day and the camaraderie, and find out more about what Ronald McDonald House actually does, because, you know, there's a PR opportunity here as well that we can tell more people. I knew nothing about it up until 2 years ago. Today, I think it's something that I'm delighted to be part of, and I want to raise as much money as we can on the day.
It's teams of 4, obviously, with it being golf. It's €150 per team, including food.
Yep.
There's prizes for first, second, third, and fourth. Longest drive, nearest the pin, and actually, you know, a nice little incentive, as we heard earlier on. Winners also qualify for entry into the 4-ball McDonald Classic in September 2025. So, like, there's a lot to play for too, and to raise money for a brilliant charity.
Yeah, and I will absolutely be making sure I've got a very strong team down there on the day. But the other important thing, Greg, is we have 18 holes there, so we're looking for sponsors for the tee boxes as well. If you're a business, or if you've been a service user and you've been there and you want to contribute, you know, I think there's €100 for sponsoring a tee box. We can have multiple sponsors on the day. And we'd be delighted to take you on board for your support.
So for €100, what I could get a sign on saying Greg Hughes.
You can, yeah.
That's it.
Well, there'd be 200 for you now. In fairness, everybody else would be 100, but you're 200.
All right, okay.
Playing Sean's team too.
Yeah, but he said then.
No, he's dropped now.
Yeah, I was going to say he said then that he wanted to win. So I think, actually, do you know what? I'm pretty handy. I'm all right, Victor. I'll rock up with my top of the tier handicap. All right, so these events are great fun, and you know, we're speaking to a crowd that knows the crack, right? That they probably play golf already, and it's a great opportunity to go and play potentially a new course, to meet new friends or bump into old friends, and have a lovely day out playing golf, and then finish up thinking that you've done something significant, which you will have. I mean, it's a win-win, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, and. You know, we've spaced out the tee box it's available all day, so I think we can take up to 70 teams throughout the day.
That's amazing.
And you know, let's make that challenge. As I said to Victor, we're going to do this. Let's do this right, and let's make it a day that we can say we'll do that again, because it worked and it was well worth it for the charity.
In the calendar, yeah,
absolutely. And it's, you know, €150, as you rightly said, Greg. If you're going to go and play a game of golf, you're going to spend that per person anyway.
100%, yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
And Dunfanny Golf Club have been very generous to us. By giving us the facilities for the whole day. So it's the Friday, the 4th of July. And if you want to, the easiest way to book it is actually, you can go onto Dunfanny Golf Club website, and it's actually set up on that day, so you can just book your team in. You can also phone the golf club as well. There'll be posters where there'll be social media. We'll be running a few ads, and Victor's available as well for sponsorship. So if you want to sponsor something, feel free to give Victor a call. I don't know if you want to give out your number
With
on
all
the air.
Listen, I will retain that, because no one's sitting there with a pen and paper.
Yeah,
ready to
or they
go.
can ring here.
So give us a ring. We'll pass that on. That's Victor Byrne, of course, who we've been talking to. Ring Dunfanaghy Golf Club. You'll find their number easy, but it's 9136335 or dunfanaghygolfclub.ie and .com. Did you not do both?
No, just the .com.
There you go. Right, Gareth, and listen, it's great for you to come in here and plug this, and often when we use a service, then it feels great if we can do something to support them, and your stories, it just says it all. There's nothing really needing to add. That a Donegal family, when they needed it most, there was just that helping hand there. Non-judgmental, no cost, and just to make a horrible situation that little bit more tolerable. And just to recap, if you just tuned in, ironically, with everything that went through, some positive memories come from that treatment process for Noah at Ronald McDonald House. So thank you so much, Gareth, for calling in. Again, just to reiterate what Sean said, Victor, get involved, get a group of, four of you together, get on over there July 4th and have the crack. It's a beautiful course as well, by the way, it has to be said.
On the subject of the date, I just think it's so fitting that it's the 4th of July, because obviously Independence Day, Stars and Stripes. And the logo thing for Ronald McDonald House is, we call it about wear your stripes, the red and white stripes. That's their logo. So just that it's fitting that it's actually on the 4th of July. So that's good. And if people are listening now today, even if they wanted to go onto the rmhc.ie website, there's a donate button there.
Exactly.
They could go on there and just make a donation, but in the comment section, just say comment. If they make a comment, say Donegal Golf, if that's what they want to do.
Exactly.
I don't even have to do that. It's just
but it'd be nice. It'd
just be nice to get
Ref
in there.
Donegal Golf. Yeah. Okay. So that's the RMC website. What is do you know the URL off the top of your head?
I don't. Just rmhc.ie. Then get straight into it.
And
very
as I say, just leave a note saying supporting the Donegal Golf event. And if you can't be there, you don't play golf, you'll have had a part in this little chat and this little fundraiser. Good shout there, Victor. Victor Burns, training manager at McDonald's Letterkenny. Thank you so very much indeed. Gareth, and he loved to know all the family.
Cheers, thanks.
And Sean Quinn, CEO, thanks so much for calling in. We'll be back with more after the break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Planning holidays, creating memories. Atlantic Travel on Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny bring you today's 9 till noon show. See atlantictravel.ie.
There's any number of new cars out there, but do the numbers add up? With the stylish Peugeot 2008, Fastback 3008 and spacious 5008 electric and hybrid range, they really do. You'll enjoy up to €1,500 trade-in bonus, a free 3-year service plan, a 5-year warranty and a free home charger. Order your 252 Peugeot today at McGinley Motors, your main Peugeot dealer in County Donegal. Offer ends June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euro Millions jackpot is an estimated €240 million. Play responsibly in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7. Enjoy Laser Quest, soft play, darts or a game of pool before dining in their fast food diner or family restaurant. See arena7.ie.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Attention Donegal, Derry and Tyrone. PD Bathrooms and Tiles are proud to unveil our newest and most stunning showroom in Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana. Located right opposite the Northwest Golf Course, we offer unbeatable quality and incredible value. For 30 years, we've been the experts in total refits, stocking and serving as the sole agent for many top brands. Visit us today and transform your space with the finest bathroom and tile solutions. Telephone 93 95 884. PD Bathrooms and Tiles, where excellence meets value. Lisfannon Business Park, Buncrana, F93H10F.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till... Isabel, take a seat, dear. I can't stand looking at you. Okay, we are going to be promoting another event very, very shortly, because that's what we do in the show. Obviously, you know, we have to platform the serious issues, but we also We also very much support some great initiatives as well. I might just ask you, Bridget, to sit behind that microphone if you can. Perfect. Lovely stuff. Right, okay. Hit the floor for our Jive at 4 in aid of Donegal Hospice. We're asking you to push back the kitchen table or get up on it and join our Jive for June campaign and support Donegal Hospice. And I have a very familiar face and voice in studio with me, Isabel Moore. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Greg, for having me.
Donegal Hospice. And we also have with us Bridget Wilhare. Bridget, thank you so much for calling in. Because yours is often a different experience, okay? Because there's a range of emotions here. You're here to support the wonderful work of the Donegal Hospice, but you, like so many of us, have sort of experienced through loss the impact that the hospice can have in the most difficult of times. I'll come to you in a moment, Isabel. Right, Jive for June. It's always, it's proven to go from strength to strength. Thanks to you.
Absolutely.
Because you've driven the living daylights out of this.
Have everybody tortured, Greg?
Yeah, I know, but it's working. Keep at it, right? So, talk to me about the money raised so far.
Well,
not this year, but, since its inception.
Since it started. Well, I started it during COVID, and the first year was 55,800, and then the second year was 125,000, and the third year then was 325, and then 505,000 for 2024.
That's the total. 505 over the 4 years?
No, that's for 2024. 505,000. So I'm up at 1,013,800.
I mean, that is astronomical.
Yeah.
It really is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, every penny counts. That's what we talk about, right? But that's, in terms of maintaining and growing, it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah. But, Greg, the end of the year for us is May 31st, and we need 1.2 to 1.4 million for the following year, if you know what I mean. So that's...
The clock resets, doesn't it?
Yeah, it resets. But anyway, we did well to get...
But what's kind of happened here is Jive for June has become one of the principal fundraising drives. We were talking a little earlier on about the Ronald McDonald House. They've got their flagships. This is, if it's not the flagship, it's heading to the flagship event, isn't it?
Yeah. Like every charity is a worthy cause. And I don't mean to take away from any other charity while doing the Jive for June, but it has really gone from strength to strength. And, it's the people that come through the doors of the hospice and avail of the home care service and all the businesses. And even we couldn't do it without yourselves, because you are the backbone, getting it out there for me. So it's just great that everybody comes on board, and it's bigger every year. I don't know about this year because there's a lot of other stuff happening in the community. And we had the big tractor raffle, Orla and Mark Neely last year, and we had the mega draw, Conor McCready in that, the mega draw. But we'll keep going. We'll keep going and see where it goes.
100%. Bridget, thank you for joining us. And your experience of the hospice, your first experience goes back to 2010. Your sister Margaret very sadly passed away. What was your experience back then of the Donegal Hospice and the role it played in your sister's illness, and I suppose the impact it had on the family?
Well, Margaret, initially we were looking after her at home. Her daughter moved down from Dublin, and the plan was to look after her at home. But obviously with cancer there's many medical emergencies and circumstances where they have to go to a hospital or whatever. So after a visit from the GP and the nurse, Carmel, they decided that it would be best for Margaret to go into the hospice. So initially we thought it was only going to be for a few days. But the minute we walked in the door, and I talked to my niece, who was Margaret's daughter, June, last night, and she said it was as if you were just enveloped with the big arms around you and a hug. And they tell you that this is your home, and to make it your home for whatever length of time your loved one's there. And the hospice movement, it's like compassionate, It's dignified end of life care for the patient. They do it very well. They look after the physical needs, they look after the spiritual needs, they look after the emotional, they find out where your loved one is emotionally, and even the social end of things. Like, I've met Isabel many a day down the town looking for balloons or a specific colour, or that there's a party going on, or a birthday, or a football match, or something in the hospice.
And they try and personalise it for
so they personalise, it's tailor-made for your loved one.
And Margaret's case, she wasn't there very long, and it must have come as a bit of a shock, because she was able to walk down to the car and make her way to the hospice and walk in, and then, such is the nature of that horrible disease, that she was taken very quickly thereafter. All the more important, I suppose, that she was in that space that you talked about for all of those reasons.
Yes, Margaret walked out her door and walked into the hospice, but whenever she went in, she deteriorated rapidly within 2 days. I think it was Dr. Martin was there at the time, and he called us in and he told us that that Margaret wouldn't be getting well. We could take her home if it was our wish, but at that point, we were so happy with the care that she was getting and the support, the right people at the right time for her.
It's the comfort that you knew that she was going to receive, the care, but it's the comfort knowing that she's in a safe space.
That's exactly it.
And all her needs being catered for.
You want the best care for your loved one on their final journey, on those final days, and that's exactly what she got in the Donegal Hospice. The staff are amazing. They're so professional. They're professionals. They do everything in their power. And it's not just your loved one. It's us as family. We go in there and they take care of our every needs as well. The pressure's off. We spend time with our loved one. You don't have to do anything. You just sit with them and talk to them.
And it's remarkable, here we are 15 years later, and those 5 nights still are so important, isn't it?
Very important.
There's not many sort of areas of care or things that could happen in your life that would stay with you like that. But sadly, PJ, your brother-in-law then, this was far more recently, he spent time in Donegal Hospice, having undergone chemo and all of that. As much as you're comfortable in saying, Bridget, talk to me about PJ and his time in hospice.
PJ, yes, he did have chemo, and unfortunately for PJ, it turned out to be terminal, and he, again, many medical emergencies and circumstances, and he decided he wanted himself to go to the hospice. It was his decision after talking to the doctors, so he came from the hospital to the hospice. He spent 12 nights there, and again, what I liked about it was that the family can be there together. Life's very busy for everybody, but obviously when somebody's ill, then we stop everything. So, maybe some members of families are not in the county. They're, one of his sisters lives in Sligo. So everybody was together for those 12 days.
It's the environment that's so important, isn't it? It's the environment,
yes.
I mean, obviously, don't want to use wrong words, obviously there's a finality to the situation, but it's that space in which people can spend maybe their last moments together.
Yes.
It's so critical, so important, isn't it?
Everybody was there together, and the staff in the hospice are amazing because they know exactly the last moment. They know, they see it, and they tell you, and we all, everybody's in the room together, and it's just a very special place to be.
With everything PJ went through in the medical emergencies and in our hospital and the treatment and finding out how the treatment was going and all that kind of stuff, did there come a sort of a sense of peace with PJ once he entered the hospice that, I can relax? I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, right? But he was being pulled from pillar to post, highs and lows, peaks and troughs. Did you get a sense that he was at comfort?
He was at peace, yes.
Yeah.
And he talked to the spiritual lady, Catherine, and Catherine had a conversation with him, and she came out and she said He's such a lovely man, and he's such at peace. And he was very content, and he had all his family around him. And yes, he did have.
He had his ducks in a row in his head.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
He was just,
very well looked after, and we can't, as a family, thank the Donegal Hospice enough for all they did for PJ and for Margaret.
And I know that loss was very recent, and even though you lost Margaret 15 years ago, it always feels recent, if you know what I mean. And that's why these memories, this matters so much. And I'm going to bring Isabel back in a sec, but it's compassion, it's care, it's that hug, it's the physical hug, it's the virtual hug. It's that support, your own community supporting you. I don't know, these are just the words I've found in our experience. What is yours?
Yeah, the support was second to none. The staff, again, I'll keep on saying the staff were
They're like
amazing.
angels, really, aren't they?
They
walking
are.
around the place.
One of our sons said to me, Mum, they're just heroes, aren't they? And that's exactly, they're angels, they're heroes. They just can't do enough for you. You walk in the door and they're there. If they see a tear, they're there with a hug or a kind word or a cup of tea, or they're watching. I think they have peripheral vision and they see everything that's going on. Yeah, they're not only watching the emotions of your loved one, they're also watching all the emotions of the families there.
Yeah.
Families are all there as well, and every family is going through the same. And when you see someone with a tear, you also give them a hug, or somebody might see you having a bad day, and
we're here for each other, aren't we?
We're here for each other, is right.
Isabel, wonderful to learn that Bridget and the family got so much comfort with the passing of Margaret and PJ, and that's a very important role the hospice plays. But we've talked about this in the past. That's actually really only part of it, an integral, important part. But the hospice provides so much more, be it on site, be it in the community, and that's why funding all of this requires constant effort.
Yeah, we also provide the home care service. We have our 7 home care nurses in the community, and they provide the palliative care in the homes. And we also we cover COPD, motor neuron, MS, and we have children in the community with life-limiting conditions as well. So we cover a wide spectrum of stuff. And really, not until 2 or 3 years ago, Greg, when I had a service user from motor neuron on, a lot of people didn't know.
No.
And we have a lot of people that comes in and out for respite. That they would be on 2 or 3 times in the year for respite. And that's just to give the family a break.
Because palliative care it's
covers
a broad
everything.
Church,
It covers everything. It covers everything. But it was our pleasure to look after your family and PJ and Margaret, Bridget, and I had really nothing to think about whenever I was taking a service user on that I would ask yourself, because
but she didn't want to come on and speak to me. I've got my sources.
Yeah.
Right. I.
Yes,
I have my sources.
We have a connection.
You have a connection.
Can I say that you have done yourself proud, Bridget and Margaret and PJ, by the way, because you spoke so well and really captured it. So you've done fantastic. So be very proud of yourself. You can walk out of here with your head held high. They're watching down, going, fair play to you, Bridget.
Yeah.
You doubted yourself, did you?
Yeah, and that both Margaret and PJ were great javers.
Right.
Yeah. So it's only fitting that, you know.
So let's get back to it. When does it start? It
starts today.
Right,
starts today.
So what do we do? We can do it live, right? So if you're at 4:00, just after the news, David's going to play a track. Get on, jive, video it, but you can play a song and jive, by the way, whenever you like as well.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how people fundraise, because this is about, it's a raising
it's
awareness.
Not all about jiving, Greg. I know I'm trying to force you every year to do the
I'm
jive.
doing it. I've got my jiving partner.
Oh, have you got?
Yeah, I don't know when we're going to do it. I've already got my partner.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so
that's good. Glad to hear
I'm sure
that.
she'll remind me.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they did tractor runs. They did draws. Children did trampoline for a month. They did bake sales. Everything. In January, I write out about 250 letters to all the businesses and all the men's sheds and everything to get involved. And they do all the, and coffee mornings, different things that they do. So it's not all about dancing, although there's some of the jives that comes in is very good. But there is an awful lot of people out there that do their jive but don't send it in. So if they could, it's all a bit of crack, and it's good to get people out and about again after COVID.
Yeah,
so.
and it gets us talking about it every day.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about awareness and getting involved and being a part of something. It's great to be a part of something greater than yourself sometimes. And this could be the opportunity, come up with your own idea under the Jive for June umbrella, because as Isabel mentioned, others in the past have, as part of Jive for June, done tractor ones or do whatever it is. Get yourself together. We've got 4 weekends upcoming and time during the week, and run something. If you raise €60, my
that's
word,
right. It's, something. Yeah.
You don't need a partner, by the way. Can I just tell a story about my little sister Margaret?
Yes, I'm fascinated. Go ahead.
My earliest memory of Margaret, one of my earliest memories of Margaret was when there was a good jiving song that came on the radio, and she jived with her partner was the handle of the door. Or if
I suppose it would work.
Yep, it works, because I've seen her.
Or the mop.
Or the brush. Brushing. She used to, if she was sweeping the floor, she would start jiving with the brush, and she would spin around. She was that fast on her feet. She would spin around and catch the brush before it fell.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. So you don't need a partner.
Very fitting that you'd be here, Bridget.
That's cool. That's brilliant. All right, you know what? Let's see some videos of you. See if you can match Margaret with the door handle. Well, I suppose the door handle moves a bit too. I can see how you can make it work. I'm so excited. I'm not speaking into the microphone. Right. Okay. Brilliant stuff. Right. So go on. Give us the hard sell, Isabel. So the Jive for June, obviously. Listen at 4. Yeah. Send your videos in.
Yep.
And how do you raise money in doing so?
Or they can get sponsorship cards from myself as well. And what the platform was set up, and then it'll be all that's it there, Greg. The one www.idonate.ie fundraiser Jive for June 2025.
Yes.
So they can do it by that, or they can just hold the function, and then I'll go out to them and do a presentation of a big check. Or whatever, or they can come to the hospice to do that.
Well, look, at the way it is like this. It's on running. Dust off your dancing shoes. Tune into Jive Time for your daily jive. Come up with ideas to fundraise over the course of the month. You can do whatever you like. Isabel will give you a donation card if you wish, a sponsorship form. You can gather up money and then put it into the idonate.ie fundraiser. There is no excuse not to get involved in any of this. And don't forget to send on your jives via WhatsApp to 086 60 25,000. We'll share it on all our socials as well, and they'll be working behind the scenes with the Donegal Hospice page as well. But there's no excuse. It doesn't have to be jiving. It can be anything, but let's go this month. We probably won't match last month because of other big things that were ongoing. But we might. Let's see.
Last year,
right.
Well, it's just that there was the fire of the chapel down, and there's so much other things that has happened there, Greg, and Doe Island, with them getting burnt and that. So I'm not expecting it, but anyway, we'll keep going.
Well, you know what?
We'll keep going.
The people of Donegal can surprise us.
Yeah, the thing about the new build that we're in the middle of trying to get off the ground at the moment. Before COVID, it was 2.3 million, and now it's up to 6 million. So we're looking at that as well,
Coming hell.
Yeah.
Okay, but listen, it's the fact, and sometimes charity doesn't extend to contractors and stuff because they have to make a living as well. It's such a big project, but still, it can be overcome. Bridget Wilhare, thank you so much again. Really lovely having you in.
Thank you,
you did really, really well, of course. Not wishing to be patronising, but you really did. And Isabel, obviously, you're a powerhouse. You know the crack. Isabel Moore, Chair of Donegal Hospice. We'll remind people this is not our last chat over June. It's the start of it, right? But we'll be back. Well done, both of you.
Thank you,
All
Greg.
right, and lots of you messaging actually in support of Donegal Hospice. If any of you decide to run anything as part of this, obviously we'll back you on the show, plug it for you, etc. It can be anything in your own little village, community, your own air code, for crying out loud. But you can do your bit and raise money for such an incredibly important cause. All right, back with more. In fact, I'll bring you comments on that after the break.
Today's 9 till noon show is brought to you by Atlantic Travel in Letterkenny. From radio waves to ocean waves. Atlantic Travel, your cruise holiday experts. Visit atlantictravel.ie.
TFI Local Link offers frequent, affordable and sustainable bus services, keeping rural communities in Ireland connected. Save up to 30% on fares when you use your TFI Leap card on eligible TFI Local Link services. For route and timetable information, visit transportforireland.ie.
Summer Sounds at Harvey's Point. Every Wednesday from May the 21st until June the 25th, a magical evening of music, song and dance from some of Ireland's greatest stars. Gourmet dinner, the warmest of welcomes. Don't delay. Book today. harveyspoint.com or 074 972 2208. That magical evening on the shores of Loch Esk awaits.
Go electric during our 252 event and discover our full range of rewired iconic Ford cars, including the all-electric Explorer, the all-new Capri, and the Puma has gone fully electric, starting from €29,900. Ford have gone electric. Ireland is going electric. So what's stopping you? Go electric. Book your test drive at Ford.ie. Offer ends 15th of June. Price includes grant and BRT relief and excludes delivery and related charges. T's and C's apply.
The Clonmany Agricultural Show Monster Draw. €100,000 in prizes. First prize a Valtra tractor or Skoda Kodiaq car. Second prize a Can-Am Outlander 500cc quad or €10,000. Plus 8 other cash prizes. Tickets are available now online at clonmanyshow.com or from any committee member. This would be a great Father's Day gift.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenny's. Find all your summer essentials from fashion and accessories to beauty and homeware at McElhenny's. Explore more in-store or shop online at mcelhennys.com today.
Okay, today will be breezy with scattered showers and some sunny spells. Temperatures 12 or 14 degrees with moderate to fresh and gusty southwest to west breeze. What a show it's been over the last 3 hours. Talking extensively about, our need as a community, us here in Donegal, for the surgical hub, being part of that. It's so important. I know it might feel negative, right? But we're in a process here that hopefully something really positive will come out of it that will, save people's lives, make people more likely to live longer. So I appreciate your patience if you found it grated a little bit, and then to support the wonderful ladies there in the work that the Donegal Hospice does, the joy that it can bring. A strange way of describing it in the most difficult of times, but I remember my own experience and feeling joy is probably too strong. Just comfort as people close to me came to their end of life, be it in the hospice or at home, and then of course supporting the Ronald McDonald House and that great charity golf competition that I'm going to go to because Victor said he wants me on his team, so Sean Quinn can go and jump. I've got a backup plan, right? But also great to be able to platform that because it happens where, our families in Donegal, they get the news and off they go. They start this massive journey for themselves with a young one in their family, potentially in Crumlin, and the Ronald McDonald House is there. So, I think it's great that we have this platform together to, campaign on or platform a campaign to get proper services to Letterkenny University Hospital, and also then to highlight two amazing charities that and the hospice and the importance of the work that it does, but also Ronald McDonald House. And it's really, from my perspective, I don't wish to over amplify it. I don't think I am. It's just really very special to be able to come in and play a part in that. But we all play a part together because we are one. We have each other's backs in Donegal. We do. We disagree in certain things, but we have each other's backs and we look after each other, and that's what we're going to. That's hopefully what we're going to do after today's show as well. Okay, listen, I don't know why I was going on there, but it just felt like the right thing to say at the right time. That's where we have to leave it today. I'll carry on your messages as it relates to the surgical hub and also your experiences with Donegal Hospice and everything else that you wanted to talk about today. We'll do that tomorrow. But thanks so much for listening or watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast if you're listening on demand. And we're back live on the 9 till noon show, 9 o'clock